RT 2458 Learning Corp, Little Red Riding Hood, take 1.
I've talked to Ryan Stone once. I'm pretty sure the whole conversation I pushed him like pretty hard.
What was hard, Ariel?
The therapist will essentially give them SSRIs, which I think the sexual effects that SSRIs have on the body, right?
Some. Like,
Yeah.
there's tons of, like, MAOs and, like, tricyclics that you're talking about, like, the type of SSRIs that used to be given to pedophiles. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. But he's not as informed as, like, I think he would like to be. Yeah.
What can I say, Nick? It wouldn't be a red morning if I didn't take a big dump on somebody.
God, that bitch.
It's not even, it's just, like, I get it. Her shtick is, I'm an idiot. I'm mid and I'm an idiot. And then everybody's watching it so they can be like, you know, like an angry jerk. Like, I get it. I just don't like it. It's not for me. I think that's it. Maybe all this shit that's like, this is tarded. Maybe it's just, it's not for us. It's made for 13-year-old boys who's like run out of Andrew Tate stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. You know, I'm amazed how many people, like on the young side of things, actually have heard of this guy. I've been like talking to like a couple more like Zoomer age boys, maybe like 15, 16 and such. I just ask them like flat out, like, do you guys like all know who Andrew Tate is? Basically, and it's like, oh yeah, we know him, we love him. I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it.
That's what freaked me out, man. Because I was like, nobody I know of has ever heard of Fresh and Fit or Andrew Tate or any of that stuff. And then their kids started talking. One like, I heard they got this beef with Andrew Tate. And all of a sudden, like, the 13-year-old army's like, bro. It's like, oh my God, I realized this whole time.
Yeah.
It's just a kids show.
Well,
it's a stupid kids show, man.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I don't want to begrudge the guy too much because he's done a lot of good for this space, but I joined one of Rollo and Mike Sartain's Twitter spaces once. Never do it again.
That's your own fault for on a
I know.
Twitter space.
But I go on there and they just let any Tom, Dick, and Harry on to start speaking in the space. And one of these like 17-year-old kids comes on and starts saying all the right words. It's like, I'm doing my grind, bro. You know, I'm doing the biggest alpha that ever alphaed, bro. Thanks for inspiring me, man. My goal with my channel is to reach 100,000 subscribers. And then Andrew Tate said he'd come on my show. It's like, for fuck's sake, man.
I guess it's weird to me because I was raised on a ranch. And my version of that was like, yeah, if I don't finish harrowing the fields, my stepdad's going to beat the shit out of me. I guess it's kind of equivalent, isn't it? Well, and it's the spaces thing, though, because even Nuke, like, I love Nuke. I love Nuke like a Dominican brother as much as that means anything. But I went onto his, did I tell you the story where I went onto his Twitter space when I was at the gym?
No.
I never go to Twitter spaces because I'm like, why? Why do I want to hear three randos rant about nothing? But the Nukes was live and I'm doing my squats and I was like, I don't feel like listening to music. I'll try it out. And there was this Indian dude talking about like what these bitches need for accountability. There was a 47-year-old British mom who was giving everybody shit for not being nice. And then all the guys kind of like were just like fishing for a reason to dismiss her. Like, where's the father? And, you know, like all the catch things where you catch like these hoes ain't loyal stuff. And then as soon as it happened, you could see the light went on and they all just piled on. I was going, Nuke, I love you, man, but that was the worst thing I've ever done. I got through the squats. I hit a personal record. That was awesome. I was really angry.
Yeah.
But you see, this is why I hate the Sphere. This is why.
Oh, yeah.
This is why the trailer for this was a Wrath of Khan review, because I would rather be doing that with my time.
Yeah, no, I can't blame you, man.
Yeah.
I hope it goes very well for you. And congratulations, by the way, on the conclusion of Mid's Watch. It's really awesome.
Thank you very much, sir. So we'll see how it. I mean, it's going to be like everything. It'll get 5,000 views and then die on the vine. But thankfully, I don't need my YouTube channel to hit 100,000 subscribers to earn a living. So
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, come on. That's just what's so bizarre to me. It's like, oh, okay, you're going to reach 100K, and then the goal at the end of the tunnel at that point is going to be to talk to Andrew Tate. It's like you're not doing this for yourself at all. You're doing this entirely for somebody else.
Well, it's not even that. It's his goal relies on somebody else doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no different than half the married guys that ended up finding me on the Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, and then you kind of give them the whole wave a magic wand. What happens? Well, my wife does this, and she does this, and she does this. And I'm like, dude, so you've made your life's goal manipulating your wife into doing what you want. Like, do you understand now why she has all the power in this? It's like cardinal rule of relationships. And then you kind of go through that whole spiel until eventually a guy kind of figures out, so if I can't expect anything from her, then what do I have her around for? I'm like, good question.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking the right questions now. Like, why would I do this if it doesn't work? Like, why would you do that?
Baby steps, man.
Yeah. That's why you have to get, like, I don't care. Whoever's saying I need to save the West and they do it for free, I'm like, fuck you. We don't do it for free. You know how frustrating this is to Socratic method a guy for 2, like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Asshole. Like,
Yeah.
well, what's that? The Spurg pill, the Sergio guy. I don't know.
Oh, fuck that guy. Yeah.
I only recognize him because he like annoyed me so much, but that's like everybody annoys me so much.
That's generally like my rule of thumb when I go to block people on Twitter. It's like, if I recognize your handle, that means you're talking too much. And, you know, sticking your head out like in the foxhole or something. It's like, oh, I see you. You're done now. Bam.
That is, I will admit, that's similar to mine. Mine, it's like if I see if I see a stupid comment of yours and I recognize the thing, then I'm like, obviously I know you for fucking being stupid, so I'll ditch. But that's why we're talking about being was it Nomads? That was the All right, good. I was thinking about this one, and speaking of shitty content creators, I did some research. I go to YouTube and I look for all the guys talking about nomad shit, and I don't think any one of them left their home. Like, I don't think they know what that means, because they talk and they say all the catchy phrases, right? Like, be your own best boss, go to where you're treated better, and then you look for details. And with a couple exceptions, it's mostly just empty nothing. They're just hoping that, like, talking fast will distract you from the fact that they didn't say anything. Unless, is that what you see? Because I don't know, you probably get a different feed being in the States and all.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to be honest, like the person who like I started listening to the most to get on board with like the traveling a lot more than I used to was Cappy. And
really,
like, yeah, well, his book Reconnaissance, man, I think is a sleeper book of his that not enough people read.
It is. I'd never heard of it, and I've read like 3 of his books.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, it's not a book that talks about bitches and hoes and making money and such. It's just like, hey, here's a very practical how-to guide to go about the United States and traveling it and figuring out where you want to live and such. And you know, I took a lot of what goes on in that book to heart. I've clocked just around like 24,000 miles driving around the States just this year. Oh, I mean, I think I've been to like 35 of them in the span of like an entire year, and it's great. I'm loving every bit of it. I'm probably like never flying on a fucking plane again at this point.
Driving's better. Dude, I was just thinking, you know how funny that is? My 2013 Lexus has, I think, 80,000 kilometers. So that's like 40,000 miles.
Wow.
For like a 10-year-old car.
Yeah, you just don't drive. Yeah.
I don't drive. And it's just, yeah, last year I did as much as you've driven with your entire car.
Wow. Wow.
I guess I'm closer to British, where I treat time the way the British treat time the way Americans treat distance. Wasn't that how the saying goes?
I don't know. I'm not familiar. Like, I'm an American. And I only care about things that happen. Yeah.
Oh well, it was a reference to how like the British can talk about stuff that happened 500 years ago and not think much of it, but Americans, it's like it's 200-year-old country, so you're like, that's crazy. Meanwhile, you're like, yeah, my commute to work is 50 miles, and the British are like, geez, how many days did that take?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because when I went to Europe last year and saw our friend Mr. Napier, I had it in my brain that I was going to do a lot of like cross country traveling. Like rent a car and stuff and do like kind of like the Route 66 equivalent of like Europe and such. And I just got there and figured out relatively quickly that just isn't how it works over here. No, it's like
I think there's Autobahn, but that's it as far as I've heard.
Yeah, and then like when I get to England and like I'd heard before when talking to people who I know in like the United Kingdom and such, they're like maybe 100 miles, 150 miles away from each other. It's like, oh, that's not too bad. You know, that's like a 3-hour drive in the States. It's not the end of the world. And then I get there and realize how like every single one of their winding roads is through like hills and shit. The roads aren't kept well. They're really thin. The speed limit's only like 35 miles an hour. I'm like, oh yeah, I understand why nobody drives in this country. That makes sense.
Oh yes, but that's everywhere except for the States. I guess it's your interstate highway because my buddy and we both moved across the country when we were posted to the military. He went like 6 months before me to Ottawa, and he said he was going to do the cross country through Canada, which is funny because Like, if you don't know Canada, you got your BC, British Columbia, you got the Prairie provinces, and then after Manitoba, you have Ontario. So, like, that's about the halfway line. And the first half of the trip takes like a day. But then as soon as you hit Ontario, the single province, it just turns into like moose country, where it's like dirt roads and winding roads. The Trans-Canada is horrible. And he's like, yeah, don't ever do that. It took an entire day to go through 4 provinces. And then Ontario took like 2 days on its own. Just go to the States. And we did. We went the Rainbow Bridge, I think they call it, through Vancouver to Seattle, and then hit all the northern states, occasionally dipping south if we were close to like the southern one there. And it was so much, you guys have it so much better. Your roads are well kept. There's like 4 lanes at all times. Every 20 miles there's a Starbucks, and I learned about the Trenta sized Brittany Venti drinks. Oh jeez. Or yeah, Brittany Trenta, that's what they're calling it now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I foolishly drove through Canada recently, and yeah, I could just immediately tell your guys' immigrant problem because of just how many cars are on the road, and there's only 2 lanes. I'm like, how the fuck? How does anyone get anywhere in this country? But you know,
like,
and your
better
speed
when you get
limits
to
are so
newer
low.
cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get, well, I mean, nobody follows the speed limits, so it's Canada. Laws are more of a recommendation unless you pissed off the Liberal Party, in which case then they want at you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Dude, that's all your guys is like neo-reactionary, like, the friends and to my enemies, nothing, like all that stuff. I was like, whatever. And then I kind of watched the LPC over the last 6 years. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's still people in the Canadian convoy, the Freedom Convoy, 2 years ago? There's still people waiting for their court date in jail over a misdemeanor.
There's a guy who is I guess I call him one person removed from me in the whole like American scene, and he just got picked up by the FBI for walking around on J6. It's like, that is over 3 years ago at this point, and they are still rounding people up. It's like, fucking hell, man.
Does it even does anything even really come of it? Because that's the thing here. It's kind of similar to my experience with the military. Was the process is the punishment?
Oh
to
yeah,
drag it out for. But then by the end of it, it's like, all right, drop in charges. Good luck. And it's been 2 years, and you're like, fuck me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that's going to happen to a lot of these people, but it's it's just like the thing is, it's like kind of like the class of people that went to a lot of these protests are just lower to middle class anyway. And so this idea, I'm going to drag this out in lawyer fees for 2 or 3 years. I mean, you're absolutely right about process being the punishment and such. So I know in a lot of these guys' cases, they just took the plea deal. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to say I did this horrible thing that was a threat to my democracy, because apparently holding down the Capitol building for 2 hours, like a game of domination in Call of Duty, is how you get access to the nuclear codes. It's a major threat to our democracy. But yeah, a lot of these guys are just, I mean, what else are you going to do? So
there's realistic. You got to make realistic choices, right? Everybody's always loved to talk about the principle of the thing when it's not their principles at stake. Or the principles when it's not their lives at stake, I guess. So like, I wouldn't begrudge a guy for that. Like, I know, I mean, isn't that the rumor now? Like, anybody who didn't get arrested over there is probably a Fed. I'm like, why not? You shouldn't be telling him that you want to buy illegal gun parts anyway. It's like, why would you tell Nick Fuentes that?
Oh my God, fucking hate that guy.
I just want to start a militia, sir. Do you know where I can find some people?
I hope the guy gets hit by a truck in Minecraft. But
everybody needs a David Duke, man. Everybody needs a David Duke, and Spencer's busy now.
He's even worse. Fucking known CNN correspondent Richard Spencer, which I will still laugh at to this day when he went on CNN a couple times, and like, that because they have like the chyron that goes under everybody's name, like listing like what they are and such, and I think they just labeled him political activist or something when he went on there.
What a wonderful framing of this career of Richard Spencer. Jeez.
Well, because he's a Biden supporter. And
now they like him. It's like
because he voted
until he stopped supporting Democrats.
Yeah, because like in 2019, 2020, he's like, I'm supporting Biden. Now this whole election cycle, he's somehow twisting himself into knots. The white supremacist is now voting for Kamala Harris. It's like, all right.
Well, then all that stuff kind of got me thinking too, because like we were talking about the law stuff, the January 6th and the Freedom Convoy. And America's obviously got it bad, and Canada's also got it bad. We have a bit worse, but it's like, it's not me trying to brag. It's we don't have double jeopardy. Did you know that if
Really?
the crown prosecutes you and they don't get the outcome they're looking for,
Can't be
they
tried
are
twice.
allowed to what's the word for it? Appeal. And they can keep doing that until you run out of money. So it's really just about like how motivated is the crown to prosecute you, which political prosecutions. That's the only way. That's the only person that wants to spend that much time and political capital on it. Is somebody's doing that for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's my point to it. We're talking about Nomad and moving. And you're like, what's the point? I'm like, guys, we're getting to the point. Like, it's still not bad here. It's not bad here. It's not bad there. It's bad if it's bad, but it's not bad. So you have to be smart, obviously. Like, not filming yourself going to these political rallies would probably be a smart thing.
Yeah.
Or just not going. I don't know, because, like... Actually, here's a question for you before we start on the Nomad stuff. Do you think there's purpose to them? And I'll give you a little preface here. The Canadian convoy didn't meet their goals, but they embarrassed the Prime Minister. Like, this is the thing that's been reported about it. They embarrassed the Prime Minister so much. Like, Europe hates him now. And his whole plan after his Prime Minister duties was to get a job as some kind of ambassador or something to the UN, some big NGO think tank. And that got shit canned. So it did have an effect. It basically punched the PM in the nose. But politically, it didn't change anything other than awareness and further dividing the people that get it and the people that don't. I don't know. Do you think it's useful or do you think it's not useful?
I have a lot to say on this, and I can make an argument for either way, really. I think at the start of it, I think everyone can kind of realize that the elites that are in charge of any of our countries throughout the entire Western world, the elites do not have the interests of their heritage populations at heart right now. And you could argue for multiple reasons as to why that is, but let's just work from that premise at the start. Yeah. The other issue is that because we've kind of been boxed in this corner, like surrender just isn't an option. But at the same time, any action you really take, it's like you're going to be the first guy who's getting up to go charge the trenches, right? I mean, there's going to be casualties. So the problem being that basically anything you do, the regime is going to come after you. But also, I mean, you just can't surrender because, like, it's literally our homes. Like, where else do we have to go?
Well, it's like the battle for the normies. Then the normal mainstream disinterested party. As soon as they get on board, I mean, you can't arrest the entire country.
No, but that's like kind of the other thing too. Is I have an opinion on this. Is that like the actual protest itself? People have it like ingratiated in their brains that, oh, this is how you do political change, is when we just get enough people to walk around in the streets, and this is how things get done. And people have been like trained to think this way since like the civil rights era, where everybody is trying to think like, oh, everybody just stood up against more racism and such, and this is how we enacted all this change. It's like, no, what actually happened when you look into it is that there were specific groups of elites who wanted certain policy changes to come in, and they insinuated themselves into certain areas, and this is how you actually got things to change. It's always, people have this weird idea that change comes from bottom up, and no, it's almost always from top down.
It's a collaborative thing. It's like the American Revolution. It wasn't like a bunch of peasants rising up. It was like wealthy landlords that were like, no, two groups of fat cats decided I don't like each other.
Yeah, and it was only like originally 1/3 of the population at the onset of the Revolutionary War that actually wanted to fight the British. But yeah,
wait, you mean to tell me the loyalty list was the popular sentiment in there? Look at that.
Well, it was split like, well, this is what they tell you over here. It was like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. There was like 1/3 patriots, 1/3 loyalists, then 1/3 like, dude, I can't even read, So, yeah. But I mean, I guess one of the things that is productive, I would say, about these protests, certainly not in the short term, and definitely not for the people who actually go and show up, because you're going to get prosecuted. I mean, just look what's going on with people in the UK right now, where they're throwing you in jail if you retweet shit. But
oh yeah, they got it crazy over there.
Yeah, but one of the things that is nice from these is that it kind of, well, this is a different concept from James Burnham and the Machiavellians, and you have two kinds of elites. You have foxes and lions. All right,
Mhm.
and this is Machiavelli talks about this in The Prince as well. Is that you have the fox elites are generally the people that come in, and they're the ones that are really good at persuasion. They're the ones that are really good at managing things. They're the ones that are good with all the day-to-day minutia stuff. And the lions elites are like your Caesar types, your Napoleons, your Pinochets. These are the people who come in and just flip the board over and such, but they're not good at the everyday management and such. And eventually they get foxed over by fox elites, and they either take you out assassination style like Caesar, or they remove you like Pinochet or what have you. But basically,
Like Trump.
yeah, exactly, that too. So, but the people they always rally around lions, right? You can't really rally around a fox. Like who's looking forward to go fight for some ridiculous, I don't know, like Department of the Interior, exactly.
Funny you mentioned that.
Nobody knows
Canadians. That's our CPC's policy now. What's he calling it? Common sense, whatever. Everything he puts common sense in front of it. The idea is the fox is like, guys, we can do this. Let's get back to work.
Mm.
And it's working. So I guess Canada's it's like India. You know how India's always the exception when one of his talks about shit? It's like Canada's the exception. Who follows the fox? Yeah, Canucks. Dude, this bureaucracy sounds competent. Sign me up.
Mm.
Anyways, I'm cutting you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so it can be useful for, I say us, but there really is no us, right? I mean, it's just a group of people online bitching about the problems. There's no real organization yet, but it can be helpful to force these fox elites to try and use a little bit more hard power, because they're just not very competent at it. Yeah. And there is a little bit of it to like you were saying before, kind of wake a little bit more people up as to the actual issues of things, like your Canadian trucker protests, or maybe your knife crime riots over there in the UK. It can be helpful.
Is that the name for it? There's no way that's what they're calling it, because
that's what I'm calling it.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I mean, so waking up more people isn't necessarily a good in and of itself. It's just you get more probability for things happening. It's like if you're playing Sid Meier's Civilization, it's like, oh, I build this building, it gives me 2 more points to potentially generate a great person, and that's basically the idea. It's like the crowd of people on your side isn't necessarily a good thing, but maybe there's somebody in that crowd who's really competent. And
it's like a public narrative thing, like that old Scott Adams 2 screens. I get that. If everybody's on the same page, it's much easier to move in lockstep. I get that.
Yeah.
I haven't played the newest Sid Meier's, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, okay, I'm going to transition now. We're going to talk Nomad stuff. Dude, it's going to be like tax law and stuff. It's going to be the most boring shit ever.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that if it is that way, you have to conclude that Trump betrayed us. In your heart, do you believe that Trump betrayed you? Some people are saying that. I don't feel it. I don't feel it.
Oh, he felt it.
This fucking guy is just so feminine. Just the way he talks is like, how does it make you feel? Do you feel that he betrayed you?
I feel bad too, because I don't know, as far as I could tell, his audience was probably bigger than, until now it was probably bigger than mine. But it's like, all those guys too. This is my hero. Really?
Yeah. I remember it too, around the time there was, obviously because I index a lot on the political side of things, there were a lot of people who were, sharing his give, send, go and whatever, and saying oh, this guy was a patriot storming the Capitol and such. And you guys don't know who he is, do you? And,
of course they don't. People thought Andrew Tate was oh, he's that guy that has that feminist school to protect against things. And it's really? Nobody knows anything. I've learned that from social media branding, is that once you get a growth spurt, none of these people know who you are, so you can just say whatever and they believe you. It's like the chick that moves to that big city after living in the small town with no history. You're like, oh, I bet you she was sucking on some hot dogs before she got to this hot dog stand.
Man. Yeah, it truly does make it black-pilled about humanity when somebody like Sneeko can go from, oh, I'm going to defend cuties, and it just has no effect on his career whatsoever. In fact, it makes him more notable. The fact that I have to hear about him more.
I'm gonna do the super chat, but then I got a thought on that. It's actually a white pill. It's actually a good thing too. So, son of Haster, $5 ones. Oh, dude, he knows the
He
system.
knows.
Thank God. Dropping in to say hi to Mr. Hawk, and he's talking about elite theory. What a way to start the day. I guess this is for like a
He's
morning
one of my guys.
podcast. Oh, I'm assuming so. I didn't know it was called elite theory. This is why it was hard when I was talking with what's his face. You hooked us up with the podcast there. Why can I not remember his name? Right
Oh,
now?
AA, academic agent.
Because I knew what
Yeah.
he was talking about. I just didn't know all the jargon. So I could tell in his mind, he's like, this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I'm just not entrenched. But whatever. Oh yeah, the Nomad stuff. So here's what I was thinking on this. So I'm nomad as they come. I didn't really have any inspiration other than I just hated my stepdad. I'm like, I gotta get out of this stupid small town. And then every time I would just move somewhere to get bigger and to get better. And I went from like the smallest of small town buttfuck nowhere Canada all the way to like basically the center of Canada, the center of the universe. That's Toronto's nickname. It's meant as a pejorative though. And it was, but the things that I learned, like one, taxes. Oh my God. Everybody always talks about go to where you're treated better. Oh, the American dollar is this. Your dollar goes so far in pesos. Not one guy has talked about a tax avoidance strategy in any of these places. Well, there's one or two, but basically nobody. Like, for example, if you're going to move in Canada, I would argue you're probably better off in the bigger cities. The real estate bubble treats you very well if you get into it. Tax-wise, I pay less in taxes now than I ever did in the military, working corporate, any of that stuff. And it was just, all you have to do is write stuff off. So everybody complaining about how taxes are too high, it's like, there's a huge tax structure in place designed to encourage and discourage behaviors. Why aren't you taking advantage of it where you live? Like, I know for a fact you probably got a great one in Florida when it comes to like,
there's no state income tax here.
really?
So, yeah.
So how does the state afford to waste money?
They get a lot of income from various other things. Like there's a lot of toll roads around that people can pay for. So you can get tax revenue that way. They do a lot of tourist stuff here as well. So they charge a lot of people for that. I imagine a huge part of it as well is, this is going to sound absurd, but like a lot of the recreation passes, like fishing and hunting, definitely on the fishing side of it. Like if you go down like into South Florida and such, you have to pay out the ass for some of these licenses, but it's like the greatest fishing in the world. I mean, there's a reason Ernest Hemingway got himself a cabin on Key West because, hey, I'm going to go fish every single day. So, but yeah, I mean, the toll roads are probably the big ones though, but there's something really neat about, Florida though. If you guys are ever driving through it, yeah, I don't know if you have this in, Canada, like they have, rest stations when you go into a new province. It's just like, hey, welcome to Saskatchewan or whatever. And you can pull over, take your piss, go inside, get a map or whatever. These things are all over the place, and on every highway system as you cross state lines in America. But if you go to Florida, they give you a free glass of orange juice if you go inside any of them. So it's just a state sponsored thing. Hey, welcome to Florida. Here's your free glass of orange juice. Come on in.
Yeah, we don't get orange juice in Saskatchewan. They don't give a shit. No, we don't have any of that, man. It's like rest stops. You basically, when you get to the town 6 hours away or whatever, it's just, at most you'll get like a sign, welcome to Alberta, and then, the flower province or whatever, welcome to Manitoba, but that's it. You get nothing.
That's interesting because like the standard on most U.S. interstate highways is every 25 miles there's a rest stop of some kind or another.
You'd figure for an overregulated country like us, we'd have something like that, but we don't. But we're also the same place because of your stupid prohibition laws in the 30s. Like, I'm not allowed to bring beer across provincial lines. That's
Really?
like a giant, it's a huge illegal thing. It is so hard to move liquor. It's easier to bring it up from the States than it is to bring it from BC to Alberta, for example. There's like parties on the West Coast that, like, that's their single issue. Is like, the 30s are over, sir. We caught Capone. We don't need these laws anymore. Like, there's a big hullabaloo right now in Ontario because they're letting grocery stores and gas stations sell booze.
Really?
They already sell beer and they already sell wine, but they're expanding that. And I think they're allowed I don't even know if it's hard liquor even. I think it's just beer and wine that they're expanding to more places. And people are having like a freak out moment. They're starting to talk about, they're like equating it to meth. Oh,
Well,
when I lived in BC, the big thing there was the province owned the liquor store. The province still owns it here in Ontario, but and they went to privatize it. People were talking like, dude, you do this and then Hitler's coming up. You got it. You can't.
well, it's like
600 million.
I got like LOL. I got like Rob says screaming my back of my head right now because listen to Red Evening enough times and Rob will tell you all about the liquor laws in Utah and such. It's like yeah. There's a lot of weird states that are like that take a puritanical streak with booze still. I think like Pennsylvania is still one of those states where you can't buy booze on Sundays.
Really?
Yeah. But I guess it's like a little bit more different than you because like your provinces are like really, really huge and most of our states are relatively small until you get out west where the
geographically
really big ones.
Though. But if you look at it, like if you look at where the actual people are, it's about the same as a state. It's just we have a giant swath of like untamed land. So what is it? Somebody said like 90% of Canada is within 100 or like 50 miles of the border, something like that.
Yeah.
We're all basically just peppered along the southern border, except for BC, which goes up north to Australia, the Gold Rush Trail. And then every town there, because they ran out of names, it would just be like however many miles it is from the Gold Rush Trail. So there's like 100 mile, there's like 108 mile.
These are the names of towns?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then that's BC's thing. It's either that or if your town is named Fort, Prince, or Port, your town is a shithole. Like a Port Hardy, a Port Renfrew, and Fort Nelson is like, yeah, everything is Port, Prince, Fort, or like X Mile is the town. It's always pretty funny. I guess, and Quesnel, but who cares about Quesnel?
Yeah, who cares? Fuck those guys. Yeah.
Oh, dude, they were bad. We had a saying in college back in the day, damn Quesnel bitches. That's the saying, and everybody knows exactly what it means. It's like salmon arm bitches and Quesnel bitches. Salmon arm one because there was a giant Puritan. They're like the Utah of Canada. They're near the Fraser Valley-ish, and there's a lot of like evangelical types there, and so very cock-teasy, prudish women, like the trads you see on Twitter. That's their Canadian homeland. And then Quesnel was that's where all the trashy redneck, like if you knew a drug dealer boyfriend, that's where the girlfriend's from. Always from Quesnel.
Well, yeah, I guess like talking about like where you're treated better as well. I mean, there's so many good looking women down here. It's amazing.
Oh, there better be.
Yeah.
Don't they filter down there? Like, is it kind of like New York? How no girls from New York, but they all live in New York?
It's definitely the vibe I'm getting from dating app exposure. Now I've been down here for like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people who are a lot of travel nurses, a lot of people traveling for careers of any kind. A lot of like people who are going to school and such. But it's crazy. It was like at the peak last year. It was something like 2,000 people were moving to Florida a day. Peak last year. It's one of the like most fastest expanding or rapidly growing states. However you want to describe
That was
it.
the COVID thing, wasn't it? Where all of a sudden everybody's just leaving. What is it? They're leaving California and New York, and they're all moving to Texas and Florida.
Yeah, Texas, Florida, Tennessee are the three fastest growing states. Yeah.
Why Tennessee?
I don't know. Like, I guess it's like the happy medium for a lot of people because it's like maybe you'll get snow like a couple times a year, but you're also not going to be dying of like heat stroke every single day. Which one of the things that like I had to get used to down here is that it just rains every single day at like 5 o'clock. And when I say rains, means like thunderclap thunderstorms.
Okay.
Just because like all the heat builds up and you're right on the ocean. It's like I don't know, something about weather patterns. I don't know. A certain group
sounds like Toronto, to be honest. That's kind of how it works up here with the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was a little weird to get used to.
I do think though that that's an underrated point to go where women are, because so many guys are like, oh, earn that dollar. And if you want to do that up here, a lot of guys go to the rigs like Fort McMurray and Fort Mac. It's got a nickname. But you go up there, there's no women. And the ones that are there, you don't want.
Yeah,
there's a cute one there. She's probably, there's a reason.
Yeah, one of the other things I've observed here, just being on like a couple dating apps and such and getting some matches before I got down here, it's interesting how, okay, so obviously like for all intents and purposes, like you're your girl's opinions like don't really matter on like political issues and such. Like she's gonna end up agreeing with you no matter what, right? But I find it interesting how many women will just put like blatantly in the front of like their profiles or such, oh, like all on board the Trump train, MAGA 2020 or 2024 or whatever. And these aren't like
sales pitch.
You know, the other thing is that they're not unattractive women either. You know, they're like some serious like smoking hot blondes and stuff like this. And it's just interesting to me how like that is the culture down here has changed so much to like further to the right that women are now like attractive ones at least are adopting this social signal. So I don't know. I think
Makes sense to me though, because when I was talking about the small towns, the girls that are actually in the small towns, they turn into sports fans. I was like, what? Girls don't give a shit about baseball or hockey. It's like, oh, they do in the small towns, where the gender ratio is skewed. Oh, they're all wearing Oilers jerseys. Like, remember that video I showed you of the chick that flashed her tits at the Oilers game and then
did she get a Playboy deal? Yeah.
That's because Edmonton, gender skewed that way. And I always get it backwards, but it's when there's more men than more women. Women tend to lock down men right away. And then when there's more women than more men, men tend to not get locked down as well. Or was it the other way around? Like, oh no, maybe it's the other way around. But yeah, that was the thing. And that when girls are in those blue collar towns, they tend to pick up blue collar habits. It's one of those, your girl will like whatever the guy she wants likes. And it's not and that's the thing. It's not like a game. It's like, this will manipulate the guys into liking me. They actually convince themselves that they're on the Trump train or love the Oilers, because nobody loves the Oilers unless it's 1987.
Yeah.
Gretzky left, so did Gretzky and Messier. That was it. Once they were gone, the Oilers were gone, man. There's an 80s. I don't know if you know what the hell. Do you? Yeah, I'm assuming you know who they are.
I know hockey. A fair bit. I mean, I'll have to tell you some stuff off air because you'll lose your shit. Some of the people I know in the hockey scene.
Fair enough. Yeah. I thought you were gonna say some Wayne Gretzky. Who's that? I was like,
no.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No. Remind me off air. But yeah. So it's, I mean, God, that really just goes to show you, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I would never, ever, ever, like, if there's reincarnation, I never want to come back as a chick. Always want to be a dude. But it is interesting to look back and see, like, all a chick has to do is just flash her tits once at an Oilers game, gets a call from Playboy. It's like, fuck hell. Just have to be
and it's superficial and it's temporary, but I get it. Because that's what I was thinking too. Everybody's talking about how hot Sydney Sweeney was. But 10 years ago, wasn't it? What the fuck was her name? The Marvel chick, the one who played Black Widow. Why can I not remember her name?
Oh, ScarJo.
Scarlett Johansson was like the biggest deal. And then 10 years before that was Catherine Zeta-Jones. And then they have their moment and then they turn 30 and then they go away. So it's like, you can't have it both ways. She gets like a 5-year period where she's the best thing in the world and then she's discarded and the next one comes in. At least as a guy, you kind of, like, Rolo's 57 or something like that. He's crazy. He's carving out himself another. He's like, I'm going to change my career again, and doing well for himself. You can't do that as a 35-year-old spinster, or maybe you can. I don't know.
I don't know.
What's that Rose chick? The one that was yelling at on the whatever podcast.
God.
Turns out she's filtering like 15 million from her NGO for abortion rights or whatever.
Oh my God.
Leela Rose?
Yeah. I mean, me and my boys went off on her this week on our political events show and such. And it's like,
holding her accountable.
Oh my God. It's just all these like pro-life people. Nothing turns me off to the pro-life position more than pro-life activists. And it's just, these people are just tactically retarded. They know no idea. They have no clue about what they're talking about. And it's just so bizarre to die on this hill of, Bronze Age Pervert talks about this a bunch, like the social conservatism and such. They're all beautiful losers, basically. And they're all like, they're just coming along, bringing up issues that nobody really actually cares about, and like dying on this hill saying like, oh, I'm the proper right winger, I'm the real conservative, when it's like the same thing we talk about on so many things. Like their definition of conservatism is just leftism from 60 years ago. So it's like, oh, do you know what's really social conservative? Listening to your wife. Yeah, that's real socially conservative.
That's the part that gets me, man. It's the cucking, it's the longhousing, it's all that. It's just letting women run things is not a conservative position. I mean, I'm not even saying don't run things. What I'm saying is the fact that you make that your MO. It's just a weird way of framing things. My wife wears the pants. That used to be a joke in the 70s. My wife wears the pants in this house. Now everybody's like, dude, let's go back to that.
Yeah.
Watching All in the Family like it's a historical documentary. Like, oh, they colorized it. Oh, it's great. It's on the History Channel 24/7, along with the Austrian painter guy. It's great.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Like you hear all these women start going off about what's going to be best for the women's movement and how we need to have more babies and how we need to increase marriages and such. And meanwhile, all of them are in college. All of them are encouraging everybody else to go to college and have a career. It's like stated preference versus revealed preference here.
Well,
It's
and the what's the other one? Now they're arguing about IVF.
Oh my God. It's just why are we talking about this? I mean, we literally just had 20 million migrants just flood over the border last year. Why the fuck are we even talking about this?
I agree. It's a total non-issue. But that's what I mean. It's like it's inconsistent. You want more they're always wanting more babies. And if you want to move to a place that's like that, that's fine. I wouldn't listen to the talking heads about it. But the idea is like this adds to that goal and they're against that one. So it's kind of like it's a contradictory thing. So what is it that people want? And I realize it's kind of like the internet. Nuke taught me that too. They want to argue. They want to fight.
Yeah.
Like the stakes have to be this low for people to be fighting this hard over it.
Yeah, it's definitely Monty Python. I came here for an argument vibes. You know?
So I just send Goatsy. I wish there was a political version of sending people Goatsy. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I guess up here that's Pajit jokes or whatever.
Well, they deserve it though. So
Yes, you know what? No, I'm not going there.
Don't do it.
Not doing it this one here. We're talking about being a nomad and moving. But I mean, yeah. So when you want to move a place, you got to think about what you actually want, like revealed preferences, not stated preferences. And obviously you want more women around. You want the gender ratio to be good. That was the one thing I loved about the island. It was like 60-40 women to men. And most of the men were like, it was newlyweds and almost deads. So a lot of the guys were kind of aged out of it. So it was just a great place to be. There was more women. And it tended to be easier to approach once you get past the cliquey atmosphere that they had, because there's just not a lot of men around, and the ones that are around are like pothead stoners from Vancouver Island or some military guy that's from Quebec that nobody likes, and just being able to stand out from that crowd was a huge thing.
I was just about to say, it makes it a lot easier for you to stand out.
Yeah, in Florida I could see that too. Like I don't know if it's true there, but I remember here a lot of times the girls hated the college guys because they're just everywhere. And it's for no other reason other than it's just too common. And then if you were a guy that got into there and you weren't the college guy, oh, that's unique. I mean, that was my whole game, was that I'm brown enough to piss off your dad, but I'm not brown enough that you're worried about getting stabbed. Like, it takes 20%. Great. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, you're totally right. I mean, I'll be back. Call me in like another 2 months when I get like way more time down here to have like more solid opinions on this. But just from like the basic vibes in the last couple of weeks, like this is a thing. I don't know if you guys have an equivalent of this in Canada, but there's always this meme going on in the States that the further south you go in this country, the people are just friendlier. And that is 100% true, at least from where I'm standing. Like every like cashier or every waitress or just like walking around on the street and such, people just want to talk to you more. And like the Northerners in the States are just all like, everyone just keeps to themselves. Nobody really talks to each other. You have to go out of your way to like breach a conversation and such. But man, it's just really, really easy to get into a conversation down here. Everyone, I don't know, maybe it's the weather or something, but everybody is just happier, I guess.
Could be, because we kind of have it. It's no real saying about it, but it's the closer you get to the coasts. And Toronto, Ontario, and Quebec, Montreal, and Ontario, or Quebec and Ontario have the thing where they're friendly but distant. And Quebec is, it's direct. Damn it. Okay, so in Toronto, people are polite but not friendly. And in Montreal, people were friendly but not polite. There we go. That was the one. So like in Montreal, dude, I remember when we lived in this place called Villemar. It was right by Angrignon Park, which if you don't know, that was where that serial killer killed that gay dude and then mailed his body parts to the Conservative parties of Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah. I'm not aware of this story at all. How?
Oh, yeah. Our neighbor, he was on the Netflix special talking about the guy. He was like, yeah, we were dating for a bit. I was like, what? And the guy's name was Dong Dong, right? I'm like, Dong.
Come on.
You were the gay guy's boyfriend? No way. Imagine that. You dated a guy and turns out to be a serial killer. That's kind of hurt. That's why he was always so on edge. But fuck, where was I even going with this one? Oh, yeah. You would notice there, like there was an Italian community there, and a Haitian community was on the other LaSalle, which is the one district over. And then there was a bunch of Chinese people moving in because we had mass immigration back then prior to India. And we kind of sat in the meeting point of all three of those. And so like our neighbors on each side were all racist towards the other two. And because we were like the outside party, like the referee, everybody was very open about it. And it was just pretty funny. But like in Toronto, you would never, like, people would like act like you had three fucking heads if you mentioned like anything about like any of that. But yeah, Montreal, it was its own little thing. But then you get to the coast, you get to like Halifax, you get to Vancouver Island, sorry. And you'll be in the lineup at a grocery store, and then all of a sudden the person behind you will just start talking to you because it's something to do. So I guess it's just, for us, it's like the proximity to water. Maybe that's what it is, because you guys have that whole ocean to this. Oh, you got oceans in the east too. Never mind. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, State's Peninsula, right? So
maybe it's just the further you are from Toronto.
Yeah, maybe.
Look at that. See, now you gotta get yourself
there
a
you
woman
go.
that brings you coffee with merch.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, they came in.
Oh,
Fucking rules.
oh,
The
sweet.
red morning socks.
Sweet.
Pink and teal. This is store.ryanstone.com, by the way. That includes the mugs, white and black, hoodies, shirts, all the works, sticker for your laptop, notebook for you writing that final book. Use promotional code PROMOTION, and you get, I think it's $5 off. You're basically getting them at cost at that point. At that point, it's just me giving it to you, and I think I get 99 cents, because that's technically, Teespring's like you have to make at least $1.
You should start selling some like a Rhodesian Miami Vice shorts.
I've just learned what this is. Like Rhodesia, because I keep seeing all those guys that aren't South African and not Australian but look pretty baller. I'm like, what the hell
Go
is
hard.
this?
Yeah.
I didn't know it. That's what Zambia is.
Yeah.
Because I have like because Rolo and I always laughed how we had like our own little African colonies. There's certain countries that really appeal to your content. For me, Zambia and South Africa, and for him it was Kenya and Nigeria. And it was really weird. It was just one of those things that stood out, and I thought it was cool. I saw their milk protest that, and then I started learning about Rhodesia, and then all of a sudden my audience is like really switched on. They're telling us the whole like, oh, how are you guys so knowledgeable about this? They're like, well, that was here. Like, oh,
Yeah. Rhodesia is something. There's a dark history there. We'll just put it that way. I mean,
it can't be any worse than Rwanda.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you live in Africa. What do you expect? You can't expect peace and prosperity.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of one of those things where, you know, if you start noticing, that's one of those things immediately you look at. It's like, wow, they had a space program, and now it's they can't even keep the lights on. They can't even keep the lights on. It's crazy. But
I wish there was more people writing stories on it. Like, I get it, the American West during the post-Civil War, that Wild West is like a huge thing. The Edo period of Japan, or the like, you know, there's always those certain times and places that are really rich for storytelling. I am surprised there's not like a Rhodesian, South African, like, District 8, and then that was it. I'm like, dude, there's so many awesome stories you could be telling from this place.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, the only person I've really heard talk about it too much from around that time is Bronze Age Pervert. He talks about Rhodesia and like Cold War Africa quite a bit, not only just in his book but in his podcast quite a bit. So if people are more interested in this stuff, go check out BAP's stuff.
Yeah. I wish more people were into that kind of thing. It just, so much of this stuff is problems that people just not having a memory. And I know that we'll use the Sneeko example. You said yourself, because nobody has any memory of where he came from, what he did. They forgot he was like actively talking, like the cuck chair thing. People forget that that's how Sneeko got his big break, was when he's like, my girl was railing a dude in front of me and I was crying in the Lincoln chair. And I was like, what? First off, hold up. Secondly, why would you say that on a podcast to somebody else? And thirdly, you got a big smile on your face. Like, is it worse if he made it up for clout, or is it worse if he didn't?
It's really like you just to really make it in this whatever we want to call it, streaming sphere game, like monkeys throwing shit at each other, or whatever you want to call it. I guess you could just make it to the top if you just have no shame whatsoever. I mean, you could be Destiny and eat cum out of another dude's ass or whatever the fuck he does, and nope, that's fine. just
I
don't
don't
have
think
any
you
shame.
do though. That's what that's the part that gets me. Like I'm doing well for myself. Maybe not millions a year, but I don't think they are either. I know a lot of it is fake. I know a lot of it, and you're in the RAR chat? Okay, so you already know what I was thinking
Yeah.
of with the Myron thing. I don't want to
Oh,
say
well.
that on air, but
Well, yeah.
yeah, where he's ranting about that thing now, and I was like realizing a lot of these guys, they're only there. Mr. Beast, perfect example. He remember his big thing. He was going on podcasts talking about how you could become Mr. Beast, and he was talking about how he was autistically checking if I show 4 teeth in the thumbnails, it gets 5% more views and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, everybody's analyzing their channel. Turns out all you need is a management company that's owned by Disney and YouTube to go to bat and hide everything you do and plug the shit out of your channel, and you too can be famous with just a webcam in your house. And I just laugh because, like, for a year, even I did it for a bit. I'm like, all right, let's try this thing out. Turns out it didn't make a difference, but at least I know that now. And everybody has this idea of like the only way to get this and the only way to get that. And it's like, it looks like having a patronage seems to be the way it works. Same as you were talking earlier with the, how do you get change done? Well, get some wealthy, influential people to back you.
Yeah.
Have them want it too.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can call it a black pill if you want. For me, it's just like, well, what other reason do you have to get wealthy and powerful and famous if not to do big things? It's like,
Yeah.
is there supposed to be no reward for this? I should just want that money for the sake of it. I just want political power because it's fun. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you want to get shit done.
Yeah,
all these
exactly.
people complaining are just complaining that I don't know how to get shit done.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with that. You know, like, oh, you mean to tell me that we can't just, it's like such an insurmountable task to try and move this mob in any direction. And you think it's more blackpilling that, oh no, we just need elites that agree with our values. It's like, you fucking kidding me? There's one issue here that's significantly easier than the other one. But again, it's just the way that everyone's trained to think. It's like, oh, we got to wake up the silent majority, which I think is a ridiculous term. I don't think that ever, number one, like, who's silent about it? And number two, like, is it ever really like a majority? I don't know. I mean, I'm just like standing over here in the States at this point. When I hear people talk about this, it's like, dude, Trump's been around for almost a decade at this point. I think everybody's got an opinion on the guy at this point. It's like, who's this person who's like, you know, flip-flopping at this point? It's so weird to me. I don't really think this is how most people think.
I don't think they are, though. That's another thing. I think it's all, I'm with John on this one. It's all fake and gay. It is.
Oh, well, yeah, there's definitely a huge portion of that.
Everybody knows where they're going to vote. Everybody knows. It's like WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan versus, I wonder who's winning this one.
I just love how
WrestleMania 7 exception.
I just love how this is literally the election of WrestleMania, because Hulk Hogan's up there talking at the RNC, ripping his shirt. Let's go, Trump brothers. You know,
dude, I understood it was all an act. Even then, I was like, dude, I want to vote for Trump. Really? You're not even American. That doesn't stop the dead.
Yeah, really.
Everybody here was bitching at our guy Polyev, like, you're trying to Trumpify Canadian politics. I'm like, dude, what's he gonna do? Bring Rick Mercer on there to have that little, oh geez, we're not even gonna get this reference, to have his 22 minutes rant where he's sitting in that one graffitied up alleyway in Toronto with the camera with Dutch angles. It's like, we don't have that. We can't have that. We're not that clever.
No.
Anyways, so this hour is 22 minutes was our satire. It was like our version of The Daily Show. And Rick Mercer is the Canadian that's in like every show ever, all the time. And he always did this thing where he would bitch about politics on a little opinion piece, kind of like the Lewis Black, I think, is that the guy's name?
Oh, I don't know.
The comedian used to rant. Anyways, and yeah, and they'd always do like the cameras tilted 45 degrees, and he was in this one small alleyway in the middle of nowhere that's got a bunch of graffiti on the walls, and it was supposed to be like, that's Canadian content. And then you turn that off and watch the Trailer Park Boys because it was actually entertaining. I poke fun, but it's only because if you're a good Canadian, if you're talented and successful, you're just moving to America. You just have to.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about being nomadic. At some point, if you're good enough at what you do, you leave the bush leagues. You leave the CFL, you join the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that applies for everything, though. I mean, and this is like a nomad thing for anything in Canada. Absolutely, earn your stripes here. Working for any industry, like pharmaceuticals, airline. I'm trying to think of one other ones. Anything that we do here as like the top Fortune 100s of Canada, you go to the States. And I'm not even talking that 30% exchange rate difference. Like your pay automatically is like 40% better. That's why we can't have doctors or nurses here. Because everybody there gets our socialized education and they're like, dude, I could earn twice as much working in the States, and then they leave.
Mm.
And then the idea here is, well, we got to import more doctors, and we import doctors, but the doctors here have sort of a guild, I guess, lack of a better word. And so like, no, we don't trust doctors over there. Their programs are different. So you got to take another 8 years of study here. So that's how in Canada you can have both no doctors, yet we're training them at record rates, importing them at record rates, and we have the most PhD or MDs driving Ubers out of anywhere in the world, I would argue.
Huh.
And that's another concern I have too, right? So like if I'm getting older, and eventually I'm going to get old enough where I'm going to start needing healthcare. So staying in Canada is most likely not in the cards unless they have some kind of way to make robots take care of us, which I don't know. So far it looks like the only thing they got is that boyfriend robot now. You seen that one?
No, what I've seen is these like weird like AI robots coming out of like Saudi Arabia and shit. I don't know, maybe Mish knows about them. But
yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah, but they're the ones that look like they look like Daft Punk. They're supposed to help you around the house and stuff.
Yeah, look like something out of iRobot or something. Creepy.
But yes, I mean that's the thing too. So you got it's like what is it you want out of your life? I don't think a lot of people know that. I don't think they do.
No.
And they are embarrassed when they do. Like, dude, a guy in his 20s, I want to get laid. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Do you want it enough to change your lifestyle over it? And everybody's like, no, not really. And I go, well, then you don't want to get laid. But I really do. Well, make up your mind. Either move to Fort Mac and earn $200,000 a year on the rigs, or move down to Florida, start talking to the college girls, and get a job as a bartender.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge difference for me as well. Like just going from like rural to urban as well. I mean, your opportunities and your chances just go up. It's crazy. I mean, like before, it's like, the meme, right? Of, you're on a dating app in a small to medium-sized town, and a hot chick comes up. It's like, oh, well, she's got a kid. It's just every single fucking time,
I forgot that you came from rural to urban there. Yeah, that's the night and day difference. I still don't get this whole guys just drive and talk to girls in diners, stay in a small town thing.
My God. I was just talking about this recently because before I went on another one of these cross-country gigs, which, another thing I should be thanking Cappy and his partner in crime, Chad Elkins, for is talking about being a nomad and such, adopting a career. I mean, I was a trades guy for years beforehand, saw it was beating the shit out of my body, saw that the only way for me to really make the big money is, take on a business loan and open your own shop. And then it comes down to, now I have to start managing people, and people fucking suck. I don't want to manage people. So
forget the regulatory compliance. That's a whole industry.
Yeah, all that shit too. So it's like, okay, I need a change. And then I'm talking to Elkins, talking to Cappy. It's like, why don't you just get into accounting? There's a huge shortage right now, and it's really easy to do, and you could work from anywhere. I'm like, okay, let me look into this. And no, I did make the change, and it's fucking amazing. So I haven't been working at all over the summer because it's not accounting season. It's like teacher hours in that regard. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just going to go travel now. So I went to like 5 different national parks, went to a shit ton of different cities all across the country, just having an absolute blast, driving all over the place, climbing mountains.
And that's a pragmatic way to look at it that nobody looks at, I'd argue. I'd argue more people should. Like, just try something. What's important? What's big? The body thing. Oh, dude, military too. I was saying the same thing when I was in at the 10-year mark. I'm like, I'm either gonna have to stay in, get my pension, and accept that my knee or my back or my brain is gonna go, or get the fuck out. Obviously, the decision was I was helped along, which thanks to the military for that one. But same thing. I see my buddies in now. The one's brain's broke. The other one's back is broke. Third one, his knee and his shoulder are shot. Couple other ones like morbidly obese because it's the Navy. It's the fattest of the elements. And I feel bad too because like they're good guys, their families are good, and they're kind of planning like, what do I do now? Because the fucking pension. That's the other thing for nomads. Like, stop assuming the government or like the big organizations will take care of you. There's not a better.
No way.
Yeah. Distrust institutions. And I'm not even saying this is some kind of like, fuck the government. When I joined the military, it was 20 years. And then you get the 30-30 rule, which is 30 seconds to piss me off, 30 days I'm gone. And you get your pension at 40% your base pay, which was great. They even had double dipping. So if you joined the reserves and did another 20 years there, you could have 2 pensions. And they're like, wow, really? That's pretty great. Yeah, well, that's how it started. This was like in 2003 or whatever year I joined. And then over the course of the first 6 years, they had clawed this back. Like first they canceled double dipping. Then they changed the pension to 25 years, and you couldn't collect it till you're in your 60s. And then the third one, I can't remember what it was. But at that time, I'm like, anybody here who's thinking about a pension is just an idiot. And sure enough, one of my buddies, the one I just went to his retirement party, I didn't think anything of it, but I checked his little plaque that he had on the cannon. And like after 18 years, I'm like, dude, they gave him a medical release 2 years prior. Oh, that was the third one. Because medical, it used to be you'd get a pension if they broke you. Now they just give you a payout, and each body part has a number attached to it. If you ever wonder what your life is worth, I can give you a list.
Wow.
And the worst part is how cheap everything is. Like my brain, if you get like a PTSD thing, it's up to 50 grand tax free. If you lose a finger, it's like 8 grand. A leg is like 20 grand.
Wow.
And I realized too, it's like, yeah, all these guys were relying on this. And then there's people talking about pensions up here in Canada. I'm like, you really think that's coming too? I don't think it is.
I think on the topic of inaction or doing something, I definitely see this a lot coming from like more conservative leaning circles and such. Everyone kind of has it in their brain that as a guy, it's back to like that defective woman thing that you always talk about. It's like,
Yeah.
if your life isn't together and if you aren't married with kids by age like 24 or something, you're a complete failure for this community and this is a joke and blah 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 blah. And number one, it's just completely ignorant of how things actually work now. I mean, and we've all talked about
Actually,
this
here, can you do
ad
me a favor? I
infinitum.
gotta take a piss. Do you mind continuing on this thing while I'm gone?
Sure, go.
Okay, thanks.
Go for it. Oh man, he's giving me the keys to the castle now. All right, start saying all the naughty words. No, but yeah, guys, I get this vibe that, you know, definitely a lot of people come from like a TradCon, more conservative sphere. Things feel like your life is over as a dude if you aren't married with kids by the time you're 25. It's like, dude, that's just such a fucking joke. It's unbelievable. I've talked to Nuke about this, talked to Jack about this, I've talked to all of like I don't know, I guess you call them like the more younger guys. A lot of the post-zero dudes were a little bit younger than Ryan and Rolo and such. And just every single year, as like we like are in our 30s and such, it's just easier and easier every single year. It's easier to make money. It's easier to get girls. Just, yeah, this idea that, oh my God, it's all over if you're 23 or 24 and haven't gotten everything taken care of, you're a complete failure. It's fucking stupid. Oh my God, you fucking guys in the chat. Mr. President, they're posting towers in the chat. Amazing.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
All right, Nuke.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
24 hours. I don't even give that to Marty. I agree. Yeah, the broken women thing is that, and there's the new one that's coming with that too. It's what do they talk about now? Oh, the birth defects sperm thing. I don't know. I guess it's like a niche thing, but yeah, have you seen that one where
I saw the graph? I listen. I mean, it seems highly unlikely to me. That's all I'm going to say. Just like from my own experience and just own like thoughts on it. It's like I don't know. You're a fan of Bill Burr's comedy. Do you remember his?
I used to be.
Do you remember his joke about stats and how fucking stupid they are?
The I am right.com.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, I don't want to go snorkeling while I get eaten by a shark. Most shark attacks occur in shallow water. It's like, yeah, that's no
where
shit.
the people are.
Yeah, that's where the people are. Yeah, you could just make statistics for anything. But yeah, go on about.
Well, it wasn't even assuming the statistics are right. It's not like you just had to read it, and it was saying, "Fuck, I'd have to." There's a whole bunch of gobbledygook in there, but it was saying every year past 25, you get a. But the measurement was a weird one that I've never heard of. It was 1.5 cis is something to something, causing a certain polymorphic mutations, and I was like, people are just looking at this and they hear, oh, numbers go up, that means bad, more mutations. But when you think about it and you actually like look all this stuff, what does it turn out? It's the same stuff the red pill guys have been talking about, well, the good ones, about how men is nature's experiment, like how men tend to go around the extremes and women tend to cluster around the mean, and that goes for everything. It goes for psychological makeup, genetic makeup. Guys are always nature's experiment. But all they were doing is saying like any random mutation at all in the body. They weren't saying it was good. They weren't saying it's bad. And then the guys were trying to somehow equate this to flipper babies. Because for women, it's very clear. Once you get into geriatric pregnancy things, like I think it's 40 or something like that, the chance of a Down syndrome kid, an autist kid, it climbs considerably. But they just couldn't have that something could possibly be my fault. So they had to fight. They had to work really hard, man, to find polymorphic, analogous, mutation.
Yeah, I mean,
trimeans. Like, really?
Listen, again, like the statistics thing, this isn't how numbers work. I get it, but just seeing enough examples of like Mick Jagger and Al Pacino popping out kids when they're literally an inch from death, and like fuck some new fresh 19-year-old, and the kids like turn out fine. I mean, you know what? I think one thing is the problem here, and it's not what you want to face facts.
Yeah. Oh my God, he has a 10% higher chance of having a mutation that gives him more freckles. I think we're done for here. But aside from that truth part of it too, it's always like, I still go back to my determinism thing. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Why are you telling me this information? I wish more people would think about, why is it you want me to know this? And the only reason they want you to know that is because it makes them feel better about, you know, the female life cycle. It makes me feel bad. Now we're the same. So they want you to believe in blank slate equalism.
Yeah.
Because it makes them feel better. And you realize, like, is your job to... Remember that? The facts don't care about your feelings?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey, remember when we used to give a shit about that? It's like, yeah, no.
Exactly.
They feel bad. Let them feel bad. Don't worry about your trimeans.
Yeah. Dude, that might be the thing that pisses me off to no end about all established right-wing figures, is that every one of them are egalitarians, like to the core, blank slate equals. And there's this meme. Man. Yeah, there's this meme that goes on in my circles where we say the woke are more correct than the mainstream. And even like the people who are like hyper woke aren't egalitarians. You know, they come at it from a weird way that I wouldn't agree with. But even then, they are more correct than these goofballs that think, oh, everybody's the same. Let's just import a million Brigittes, and they're going to be exactly like Westerners. They're going to appeal to our values. They're going to assimilate.
Make sure to keep them out.
Yeah. They're going to assimilate.
Community. Ugh. I mean, I get it. We're in the land of abundance now. And who was it that's... I wish I could remember who said this, but when you're in the land of abundance, the only scarce resource is social clout. Ooh. So it's really just about who can say the most destructive, deranged thing and not suffer the consequences from it. I get it. Evo psych-wise. And what I don't get, though, is why more people aren't like, oh, no, I gotta... It's like the guy arguing with his wife where she says, you never take me out to dinner anymore. And he argues about, we went out yesterday. It's like that on a political level. I get it. But it's just so, like, join in. Oh, yeah, dude, it's really bad. And I granted, it's me as the, like, you've seen my Twitter. Obviously, I'm not following my own advice, at least online, offline, absolutely. Don't say this shit offline. Do what you want. Just tell people what they want to hear and do it. Trudeau, the first pickup artist prime minister ever, taught me a valuable lesson. I'm not even joking, by the way. Best lesson ever. Tell people what they want to say and then just do what the fuck you're going to do anyway. And it's perfect. I remember that. He fired his first indigenous woman, native, like attorney general for daring to question him, like the most misogynistic shit ever. And everybody's getting all mad at him. And he just starts, you know what? I think women are great. I think women belong everywhere. I'm committed to women in the workplace. I would never do this thing you're accusing me of, and I did.
Dude, this is honestly why it's honestly why I admire a lot of left-wing politicians and a lot of left-wing like thinkers and such for this exact reason. Is
they
that
actually
they
read 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah, exactly. Like Vladimir Lenin should be like the test case for studying. Actually, Robert Greene should have just written a book about Vladimir Lenin's life, because it's crazy. That guy understood friend enemy to an amazing degree. And just, again, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to say all the right things. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want anyway. And all the best left-wing politicians in the 2000s all did this. Tony Blair, Barack Obama, Trudeau, everybody acts the exact same way. It's like, well, I believe this, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Gee, I wonder which president that's an impression of.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds like Clinton. Nuke's even doing it right now, man. With his chat GPD.
I got to give him credit, man. Like, I don't want to be on Twitter with a million screeching harpies in my mentions all the time, but dude, touch them all, man. Like make your money, man. I mean, he certainly has a pretty good troll on social media. So
I'll give him
Just
credit.
it was the funniest. I think it was you guys showing it to me. That other guy who literally did that when the girl was talking about how much of a dick Nuke was, and so we put some Chat GPT, "I feel your pain" shit on it. And she's like, "I know, right?" I have never laughed so hard in my life. If you guys don't know in the chat, if you're not on Twitter, and bless you for not doing what he's did is when there's a girl getting mad, like what are we at in the relationship, that kind of thing. He just goes to Chat GPT and asks, "Do you remember what his prompt was?" It was something like.
I'd have to look it up in the RAR chat, but it was something to the effect of say something understanding or sweet or whatever. But
Yeah,
don't
and
like,
it would come up
apologize.
with this giant wall of text of like, "I understand your feelings are the way they are, and you're not wrong." And it was just babble, absolute babble. And he would post it to this stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, it's amazing. Like half the girls end up like understanding and having another date or two." And then, of course, the neurotic Tumblr girls on Twitter freak out. They're like, "This is evil man shit.
Manipulating.
Like,
Yeah.
he's acting like those people on the reality show TV I'm hooked on." He even used the same language as like Love is Blind too. That was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it honestly freaks me out about like AI and ChatGPT more. But man, good for
It's
Nuke,
good
man.
though. I just realized as soon as somebody starts talking like a chick, it's probably AI.
Hmm.
Null €2 super chat. I think statistics are a control method. They absolutely are.
Oh yeah.
I'll go you one further. Language is a control method.
Yes. Yeah.
The
100%.
whole reason you're talking to somebody is generally to put ideas in his head and persuade him one way or another. That's why we developed language as a manipulative thing. Why do you think babies cry? Why do you think girls scream? Because it gets your adrenal gland going, and then they'll manipulate you into doing stuff.
Mm.
Why do you think girls nag? They nag because it works. Didn't Lenin die in the first year after the revolution? Look at you guys know so much about communism.
No.
Yeah, Stalin killed him, but Stalin was just better at it, I thought.
He lived. Lenin ruled the Soviet Union for 9 to 10 years, thereabouts. After they won.
I should look into it more. I've only ever learned enough about communists in order to like sink them.
There's actually some really interesting notes that Lenin wrote down because it got to the point where, of course, because they're a bunch of commies and they don't really understand markets and such, and so they're kind of there's a point where Lenin is writing letters and he's like, "Listen up here, comrades. We need to open up some markets, or we're all gonna fucking starve." so he actually wrote about that in his later years. Where he's like, "Yeah, okay, so it's actually the spirit of the revolution to allow some free markets. Come on." So just ends up doing it anyway. Literally.
Gee, I wonder how that ended out. They eventually opened some markets people were eating, right? Yeah. They definitely didn't start eating their children.
Yeah, well, and then he died a couple years after that. But I mean,
natural causes, surrounded by loved ones, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever see the movie The Death of Stalin?
I watched the clip at the end where they actually did the whole coup thing and Stalin died.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen the whole movie yet. It was interesting.
Oh,
I like how they played it like an episode of Faulty Towers.
Yeah, well, it's like a black comedy movie, but also it's like literally what was going on in that country. So it's like how. Yeah. No, but I'd recommend it if people haven't seen it. It's a pretty funny movie. And,
that's the problem. Is like for me, my love of history kind of started and stopped with World War I aviation. I gotta get into more stuff, and the more I'm learning, the more it's kind of funny. Like when I found out about was it Stalin or Lenin or no Marx.
Oh,
how he was just like he was literally Hassan.
Oh yeah.
The rich, he was the rich kid,
he's a
trust fund
fucking
baby.
trust fund kid. Yeah.
And he kept
trust
like writing
immigrant.
his dad that he hated to give him money. And his dad was like, "You're a layabout. Get a job, you hippie."
Yeah.
And what is it? And then 100 million dead people later. That's why I hate like Vash and Hassan and all these guys. I'm like, dude, you realize the only reason you haven't killed 100 million people is because you're also incompetent?
Yeah.
You get that Karl Marx level of swag and we're done for. We're done for. And last, I want to die from that guy. Have you seen how he looks? What happened to the genocide of the 2040s? Oh, that was the it all started with the Turks. The dominoes, it's like, young Turks hates Trump, and then up here it's like Hassan Piker murders 100 million.
Yeah. It's like we just had the 10-year anniversary of Gamergate first kicking off, and now it's like it's like Zoe Quinn fucks a couple journos, and at the end of the line is Donald Trump gets reelected president.
Yeah. Donald Trump builds a wall.
Yeah.
It is funny. a lot of guys think it's just a bunch of dudes talking about video games. I think there still is a lot of people. Most people don't even know what it is, but it is true. It was literally the first time there's been any male pushback of anything, and it's just funny how it's like our leisure time.
Yeah,
It is such a look, if guys don't have to work for sex, they're gonna be they're not gonna be productive. They're gonna be lazy. That's why the first thing guys pushed back on was like leisure time, and I'm pretty sure if they actually manage to find out how to ban porn, that'll be the other true like male revolution.
or sports.
Sports, well, maybe they kind of really like how vagina are sports now. Doesn't the NFL have like a new like 15 types of pink helmets that you have to wear by law?
There's definitely that. I mean, I guess just from like I don't know, like my own personal experience. I mean, I used to be such a huge baseball fan. I loved it. Know like be autistic about stats, would join fantasy baseball leagues and such, watch so many games and everything. And then over like the last 5 to 6 years, ever since like this new commissioner of baseball came in, Rob Manfred, he's fucking terrible. He's awful. Trying to like NBA-ify the MLB. He's like, oh, we got to make the game go faster because, you know, these kids on TikTok these days. And then they did this other change where the league enforced the netting now has to go all the way down the baselines because too many idiots were on their phones getting decked in the head with foul balls. So you can't even
had one of those in Toronto.
Yeah, so like you can't even go to a ball game anymore to like grab a foul ball with any degree of consistency anymore unless it's a home run. And it's like, okay, like this sucks now. This is dumb.
Dude, thank God Toronto didn't get that memo. I should have done that. I should have had you down here and then caught a game. I guess you'd have to spend a couple days here, and that's the problem. Nobody wants to spend a couple days here unless they have to.
No.
But that's the one thing. I don't like sports, but I'll watch a baseball game. I love watching baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too.
I don't even need like the expensive seats. For at least in the Toronto stadium, the first row of bleachers at the top deck is my favorite because you can see the whole field, and like people there are there to watch the game. They're not there for social reasons, so it's like quiet and it's relaxing. The hot dog stand is just around the thing. It's not as busy. It's perfect.
Yeah, there's just a baseball game has a different feel compared to other sports. You know,
it reminds me of golfing, to be honest. It's like 4 hours, an excuse to be in the sun for 4 hours. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like and golfing is good too, but I mean it's more walking than in baseball, but that's fine.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, we had a good time. Went to the aquarium. That was fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if we wanted to bring that one up or not yet.
No, well, too late now.
Yeah,
but,
fair.
Yeah. So, but yeah, ball games, being outside.
And for all this stuff, a lot of guys, and I look the understand history, the communist thing, know about Rwanda, know Zambia, and all of that is great. And I find the part that gets me is, this is going to sound weird, but go with me. It's like leisure time. If I don't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, spending all day studying the history of Zambia is probably not the best use of my time. I probably shouldn't care about that shit. I surely should be focusing on getting enough money that I don't have to worry about. Like if I have to think about how much money in my account before I go to dinner, I probably shouldn't be going to dinner. It's like that old red pill one by Thought Wrecker. You don't get to do what successful people do.
Yeah.
It's it was such like a throwaway thing, and it's just by pure luck we actually have it saved all this time. Where all these guys talking about this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, yeah, dude, like you live in a parent's basement and you're sitting here talking about saving the West. It's like, get your priorities.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna go clean your room, but just like prioritize.
Yeah, there totally is a lot of that. Like, well, we see it a bunch in this sphere, right? It's like the red pill masturbators, people call them. It's like, and I could say the same thing in the politics thing. It's like, you should be here just to establish, I don't know, like a baseline for your ideas and such, and then leave. Like no one has ever meant to hang their hat up in these places. I mean, like, dude, I get so fucking annoyed that I have to pay attention to what's going on, like the DNC and shit for like part of the podcast and such. It's like, I don't want to have to fucking watch this shit. You think I want to watch you think I want to watch the fucking presidential debates that are coming up? You know, it's like, fuck off. There's so many other things I'd rather be doing with my time, but you know what? That's the decision I made. Yeah, it's the decision I made.
Every job has toilets to scrub. I get it. So
I very much so. But yeah, it's like, okay, so all right, I'm gonna get so like down the line autistic research all this stuff to the point where the second Civil War is coming and watch it every single day to get myself all pumped up. It's like, what are you actually gaining out of this? And I mean, like as it relates to like the political stuff, if anybody follows me, so it's just like go and get involved with like local chapters and such of like the OGC that I'll be promoting. Like do shit like that. The whole point is to move this online into the real. Don't just be sitting in the audience like sending in super chats all the time. That's not what we're here to do.
I love how we're the polar opposite of this. Like you're okay, get local, get things done, and me, it's like learn what's going on so you can navigate around it and steal as much as you can from it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's
I'm
definitely
very cynical and jaded to a level that you probably like. I would be a bad influence on you if I started giving you ideas, so I'm not gonna.
Well, it's kind of like I don't necessarily think they're exclusive either, because like when you have an idea of something that you want to build, but also realize that like, I mean, dude, I guess I'm like I'd call myself I'm loyal to the idea of the United States, not the actual United States as it's currently constructed. So it's like, hey, yeah, I'll take fucking advantage of this like dog shit government every fucking 5 minutes, as far as I'm concerned. But I still want to build something on the back end of that. There's a goal at the end of it as well. So I don't think these things are necessarily mutually exclusive.
It's true. Yours is actually pretty solid game theory. It was the not tit for tat. It's the iterated. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about cheaters and honest people. And that if everybody is honest, then one cheater is okay. But if you get more cheaters than honest people, the honest people are actually doing bad strategy.
Mm.
And I only found out about that from Ludology. Oh yeah, speaking of like rabbit holes, there's a whole science of games. There's a science, Ludology. And they were talking about this. If there's like an issue, like for Dave's Scarred Thumb podcast, he talks about how games released on day one have 60 gig patches to them and they're still broken. They don't work.
Mm.
If you want to fix a system, you have to break it because nobody will fix it unless it is. And this is work too. If your boss keeps loading you up with work, you're like, dude, I am stressed out. I am overworked. I can't do anything. It's like you have to let things fail because all he knows is he keeps throwing stuff at you and output keeps coming back to him. So things have to fail until he's willing to listen to you say you're overworked. And people just don't like that idea because it feels like a personal failure. It's not, same thing. If your video game isn't patched right now and it's broken, then you have to abuse the shit out of it, ruin enough people's experience that the devs actually patch it. And I'd argue it's the same thing like you were talking about that. Like, oh yeah, if there's this giant tax loophole, they're just giving money away. Take as much as you can. Get on the dole. Dude, when Myron, I hate to say something nice about Myron. You know this. The day I found out that YouTube had that minority creators fund where he took money for being black on YouTube, I was like, good on him, man.
Yeah.
Take all of that Google money.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had one for like being a Canadian and if they pass the law, but if CRTC does that whole Canadian content, I'll be no due to booting it every fucking day on YouTube getting my money, man. The history of maple syrup and the great maple syrup heist, the 50th video of that you never needed to see. I'll fucking pump that shit.
Yeah, make another video about the Voyageurs and their coonskin capped.
Yeah. Have you ever told you the story of the Avro Errol and John Diefenbaker? It's like, oh.
It's a very Canadian name.
Oh, dude, it's the Avro Arrow is the Canadian version of like the chopping of the cherry tree. I cannot tell a lie. Yeah, it's basically Canadians punching above our weight, having the best and the brightest, the greatest engineers. We built the greatest fighter jet that ever existed. And then because Americans had more money, we shit-canned the project. We wanted to be mediocre. And then all of our greatest scientists moved over and worked in the States for, it was either Boeing or NASA. And they were the ones that developed like part of the space program or something like that in the 50s. It's the Canadian story. Get successful, get screwed over by the government, move to the States.
I don't
American
know, man.
Revolution in just like a corporate environment.
Hey, man, some other guys walked so you can run. So how about you, come over to the States and start talking about our politics? Maybe you'll do a better job than Gavin McInnes and Lawrence Southern and Stephen Crowder.
I could be a Canadian conservative or conservative American. That'd be great. The problem is these immigrants, my green card's hanging on like a...
I don't know. I mean, well, you walk over the border, you get a free registration to vote these days. So, at least you'll have a say in the system the second you walk over here.
And you know what? I bitch, but like I really have no right to. I bitch because I don't like the way things are going. But the worst part is it doesn't affect me personally. Like me and the girl, we're in like top top 5% of Canadian households when it comes to stuff. I'm not saying this is a brag. A lot of my friends are doing way better than me too, but we're literally at the top of the F pile. And from the real estate bubble, we've absolutely all benefited hugely from it. From the crash of everybody's pensions and stuff like that, a lot of us have absolutely benefited from it. Stock market doing great because of inflation. You know, well, you know what I mean? Dollar crash, investments do great. I'm in the cheapest house out of all my friends because they're all in like $1.5 million homes and shit like that. So we've all done very well under this system. We're very good at navigating it, but at the same time, I don't want it. I would rather take the hit to my real estate and live in a place where I don't have to bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
but the point of this, though, the moving to the States, that was the whole point. Like, moving, it sounds great. I would love it. I had a buddy done a recce on Ohio, told me how great it was. I heard from one of our guys how South Carolina is pretty nice too. Like, there's a lot of really neat places I think I would like. New Hampshire keeps getting a lot of buzz, which I didn't think was a thing. Tennessee now, I'm like, now I got to look into that.
Yeah.
But we're just doing so well here. It's hard. And this is like a red pill thing for you guys. If you ever get past your, oh, my wife's this. If you get past that, you're going to get to the point where nothing is wrong. And so if you want to make a change, you need an internal motivation because somebody's fucking you over and you have to fix it is no longer there to save you. And we're earning enough here where it's like us moving down there is a harder decision because there's no need for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do so well with my tax avoidance. That's the legal one, not tax evasion, Tim Pool.
Yeah.
That I might even have to end up paying more, but I'm pretty sure in the long run I'd do more. But that's the point about being nomadic is taking risks. You're going to take a risk on this stuff, and then it turns out if you have the talent and the work ethic to back it up, it tends to work out well. Like I don't know how well you've done since moving down to Florida, but I'm guessing you're already starting to see it paying off. Maybe in a 10 at least. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. It was definitely the right move. But again, it's like your point about risks as well. And, oh man, stripper 300. Oh shit.
I was gonna say stripper. You know what? At the very least, I should plug his goddamn Substack. He's gone to Substack. He's red pilled as F as well. $300 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Where is his one? I think it's called like stripper at substack.com.
Man, that's like 60. That's like 60 cuck articles.
You son. Yeah, I know. Yes, you know what? Fuck it. That is in cuck article format. At the very least we could do.
So the meme, they're very good. This is really, they've taken it.
True Alpha.
Named Ryan Stone.
This says, ask Murphy about the article he wrote, cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
If I wasn't prepared to literally impoverish his entire bloodline,
I am now concerned for my career.
And I'm still recommending
Clear up the cuck article.
You know what? Fuck you for bringing this up. Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
It is just...
That's great. You should.
Fuck you.
Sorry, apologies.
Just keep going, dude. One foot in front of the other. Before you know it, this will all be in the rearview mirror. Fuck you.
All right. There's the Substack. Check it out, boys.
It never gets old.
Some of these ones make me laugh, man. Like the Tate one, whatever. That one, the funniest member of Rule Zero, and the Pat Stedman one about being where the girl's talking about being submissive. Those three, I can watch those all day and still laugh.
Yeah, your ad game is on point for sure.
The trick is try not to think of it as an ad. Just think of it as something that you think would be fun and engaging. Because like that's like so bad when it comes to marketing. Like it doesn't even mention the podcast really. It kind of alludes to it. There's no link to it. There's no reference to it. No nothing.
Well, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, though. It's like that patronage thing because like it's an in-group thing. It's like if you're here, if you get it, you know, it further
you laugh your ass off.
Yeah, exactly. It's like British humor, you know.
Well, here we go. And then Dark Knight Dev, thank you, by the way. Charleston, South Carolina. Family's about an hour from there. Great restaurants and people. Nashville is the white people's version of Atlanta. So super spread out with a lot of like ratchet shit going on, but just white ratchet shit. I'm just kidding. I've heard, Charleston and was Raleigh the South
Raleigh.
Carolina, or was that north?
That's North Carolina.
Okay, so those are the two places I've heard of in the Carolinas then.
Yeah, well, Charleston's on the ocean, and Raleigh is I don't know if that's North Carolina is one of those weird states. Like nobody really knows about it 'cause, like nothing really important happens from there. It's like, yeah, it's one of the original. It's one of the original 13 states, but nobody knows anything about it.
See, as a Canadian, like the nobody knows anything about it is, I'm like, wow, that's great. It's kind of like Toronto.
Yeah.
The only reason people know about this place now is because we're stabbing people left, right, and center. Or stealing. No, we're car theft and traffic capital of Canada, of the world. Or not of the world, whatever. Anyways, all I know is like 600 cars a day are being stolen here, and they're being shipped out via Montreal. It's absolutely insane. We just built these giant condominium things full of migrants, and we put them in the floodplains, the great floodplains. So every 5-10 years, everybody gets 6 feet of water, and they're like, climate change. This floodplain keeps flooding. Climate change. I blame Trump. We need more wind farms.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
well, we just had one of those. I looked it up, and that's, oh yeah, by the way, guys, do some research into your stuff. 2013, they had like 6 feet of water in the area by Brampton, all that stuff. We're like, oh, that's crazy. And then they talk about, it was a fucking progressive shit. So everybody's like, yeah, these are floodplain area. The government didn't put proper flood control stuff in place. Developers just, bribed to get their way in. You're like, oh, that sounds horrible. And then you read it now, and it's like, oh, the environment, this is all climates. And I was like, oh my God. How much we've changed in 10 years of news reporting.
Yeah. I mean, as much as like a lot of people would like to say that the like establishment news media and such is losing relevancy. I mean, they definitely are to some degree, but man, oh man, their power is still crazy to be able to set narratives. I mean, people in this country literally forgot that the like former president of the United States just got shot in the head 6 weeks ago, and people just act like, oh no. Yeah, it's like, oh, that wasn't a big thing at all. Just another day.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the, remember the hope thing from Obama, how that was like the biggest picture in the news for like a year, and that whole Trump with the fist pump in the air, that was like Substack. Every article didn't matter what the topic was. They could be talking about bacon cupcakes, and there'd be a picture of Trump with his hand up in the air, and I was like, what the fuck?
Goes hard.
Yeah. When your cupcake goes like this. Or the Shinzo Abe meme, like everything was just gone.
Those are great. It's like,
why'd you move your head? I don't even know the relevance. Like, what's the point of that?
Shinzo?
Yeah, like what's the relevance there?
Oh, the two of them were like good friends when they were both in office, and then Shinzo himself got assassinated a couple years ago. And so like the meme is, oh, Mr. President, why'd you turn your head? I thought I heard the voice of an old friend. It's just like Shinzo Abe in the background.
Now it makes sense, dude. That's so much funnier now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one thing, and I hate it because like so many of my jokes don't land on Twitter because they're most like obscure references ever, and just me sitting here talking about dicks and marriages and whatever, and then all of a sudden Trump hitting there holding his hands and like the voice of the ghost of Shinzo behind him. I was like, this is perfect. I didn't even know that background. I'm like, dude, I heard the whole story in 2 pictures and a green text.
Yeah, I mean,
assassination by a NEET. Aren't they always assassinated by NEETs though? Trump was almost gotten by fucking Reddit mod. Come on,
dude. There's some really, really sketchy stuff coming out about that now. It's like, okay, so this kid was 20 years old, had 3 phones, and one of the phones was geolocated to be at the FBI headquarters a month before. It's like, what the flying fuck?
Now, is that real? Or
yes,
I'm noticing, because that's part that gets me, is I'm watching a lot of these conspiracy theories, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go look it up. The article they're referencing doesn't exist, and it's stuff that I want to believe in, and it's stuff that probably is true. Just amazing how people will make up whatever.
It's just, I mean, and I wasn't down for any of these when it first started, because I was like, all right, listen here, talking about the Secret Service, talking about like conspiracy this and conspiracy that is just pulling rearguard action for the people who are actually responsible. And the people who are really responsible for this are journos calling Trump the next coming of mustache man for literally 10 years. It's like, I can't believe this thing didn't happen sooner, to be honest. It
does have a Rwandan radio station vibe to it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, cut down all the tall trees. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. So that's why I was like, I don't want to hear any of this conspiracy bullshit and stuff like this. This is nonsense. Focus, stay on target, and
look at this. Marty knows what to hit me. He knows where to hit me. I'm tempted though. Dude, I saw that one now. There's that website where the guy for the Las Vegas shooting, where the guy recorded all the 911 calls and all the police calls, and he geolocated them everywhere, and you can kind of follow that trail. He's actually got me believing, and it might be true, that there was apparently some like Saudi resistance group that did they started their American Revolution in Vegas, and the American government hid it.
This is one of those things I just haven't looked into like at all.
I'm afraid because it looks like so much time invested into it, and it's like I got to finish the book first.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is something there because, literally nothing about it. It's literally and especially over here in this context, because the Democrats and the media just cannot help themselves to bring up mass shooting scenarios all the time when it's committed by a white person, because it's for them to advance their gun control narrative. And here you have, it's not only the deadliest mass shooting in American history, it's the deadliest mass shooting by a factor of 2 in American history, and nobody talks about it ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't even know it was that until somebody mentioned that in the conspiracy thing about that site showing off this stuff.
Yeah, so there's definitely something there, but I don't want to peek in there. I will say this, though. I took advantage of it. I went and stayed in Mandalay Bay 3 months after that, and the rates were cheap as fuck.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like the Hobbit said, the furthest from danger, the closer you are to harm.
Yeah.
It's like, really, of all the places in America, that's going to be who's going to start another shooting in Mandalay Bay? Like a month later. Really? No. Nobody ever goes back to the scene of the crime. The safest place to be on 9/12 or 10/12 would have been New York City.
Yeah. You never rob the same bank twice.
Exactly. After Heat, I'd put my money in that bank in Hollywood. In the movie Heat. That's the bank. That's the safest bank.
Total non sequitur, but I'm just thinking back to that Vegas trip when I was in Mandalay. And I went to a strip club and just randomly picked a stripper out of the entire crowd. And this chick went to my college. And I was like, what the fuck? How does this happen? It was 2 years older than me. I thought she was like fucking lying or something. Had like one of the weird scanners, like look at your phone, geolocate or some shit. And then she names the dorm.
Gave you the handshake?
No, she named the dorm that she stayed in. I was like, oh fuck. Like, you can't fake that.
Dude, I think every guy needs one of those stories. Here, I got one for you too. The day a stripper told my brother my name, I get a phone call, random out of nowhere. My brother's like, who the hell is Gia? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Turns out the girl's name was Garrity. And he goes, yeah, I'm just sitting over here. And he was being cool in front of his buddies. Like he's talking to the strippers, making small talk. He's like, oh yeah, where are you from? She's like, oh, Victoria. He goes, oh, I got a brother from down there. What's he do? Oh, he's in the military. And he starts naming some things. She goes, is your brother, wait, are you, and he mentions his name. It's like, he's like, what? Goes, yeah, I know Ryan. And then all of a sudden he and his, like everybody I knew from high school up was like texting me. I'm like, what the hell? Who the hell is this? And they thought I was just up here all day hanging with strippers. I'm like, no, she was a psychology major. She just switched to stripping to make money. Her best friend is my roommate. Salmon arm bitches. But yeah, you need something like that. All those stories, those were the best pre-selection ever. It was right up there with the time when my buddy's fiance during a stag tried to sleep with me. Everybody, but then the story was just that I did sleep with her.
Dude,
if you get one of those,
dude, that is a weird one, man. Because like I've talked about this before, but I had a college buddy of mine was dating this girl, and the guy was just total blue pill, all the way through, but he's a good looking dude, so he just like stumbles his way into a bunch of these relationships.
His name's not Michael, is it?
No.
Oh, thank God.
And it got to the point where he's dating this girl for like a year and a half, 2 years. She's basically waiting for him to finally get his shit together, and like move on from like the college boy phase, get a big boy job and shit. And she's just, every single time we go to a party, just starts getting handsy with me and then another one of my friends. And it's just like, fuck, man. It's like, I really, really want to, but no.
Oh, you got to. I think that's another, like, rites of passage. You know what the rite of passage is? Having your buddy sleep with the girl you have a crush on and then brag about it to you. I think every guy needs to go through that. It's the best way I've ever seen to kill one-itis. It killed it for me.
Yeah.
You get really mad for a bit, and then you're like, I'm not going to fight him over this. Or maybe you do, but then you're like, oh, she's still gone.
Yeah. All right. Am I allowed to use the R word on your
retards?
channel?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, the thing that rhymes with grape.
Oh, just call it grape just to be safe.
All right. So hilarious.
It's funny, retard's fine, but the other one, no.
Hilarious story. Remember, like in college, and like there's just something about male humor that's just so amazing. Fucking love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Guy I know starts going off, and this is like back in college, going off about this chick is really attractive, really hot, wants to hang out with her, sits next to her in class and stuff. You know that thing where like the guy gets obsessive and hasn't even made a move yet, and he's like,
Yeah.
And then I got another guy at my table of friends. This guy's like the lacrosse player jock dude. He's like, hey, dude, that's great. Guess what? I raped her. And just immediately, like, everyone breaks out into laughter. This guy's just gone off.
Funny.
Yeah.
And you need that so bad too. I've noticed that every time, like the kind of person who get offended about that, there's always something that comes down the line where they'll screw you over. And so you kind of need that little litmus test of like, can this guy take a joke? Especially a bad joke.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone needs that like shot across the bow to make sure you're cool and you're okay.
Dude, we were talking about, this whole topic was about nomadic moving to where you're good and what you should look into. Where now we're talking about like 8 rites of passage.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the new book. Do one of those like listicle books. You know, those ones that are just thinly veiled marketing for coaching services, like the 8 rites of passage. Tell a rape joke and have your buddy laugh it off.
Yeah.
Have a story from a stripper. At least one.
Yeah.
Move to Florida.
I think the other thing too that I find like so odd is like when I was in school, and because like my folks split when I was in my mid-teens, so I got no education from my dad on how to like actually interact with women, right? Because like those formative years, well, dad's out of the house thing, welcome to divorce courts and everything. And even still, like when I was in college, like just by total fucking happenstance and accident, by me just like showing up to parties or hanging out with people, I just like walked into some pussy, and I was fucking retarded. And
we all are.
Yeah. It's just weird to me how you just have like a whole class of guys like in their early 20s or late teens thinking like it's so over and like I'm just gonna be like a virgin forever. It's like, dude, how do you just like not wander into it? I don't know. And like, listen, like I was like not like super jacked, wasn't like the, it wasn't super social, I was just like a gamer dude average. Who totally like average dude, and still I had like opportunities, and I don't know. It's, I guess like people just don't do anything anymore. Maybe like that isolation thing. Yeah.
The 3-date rule. It's like 30-minute rule now. Guys are still failing. I think that's the Morlock Eloy thing I talk about, where it's guys are either turning into simps or thugs. There's a bifurcation, or what do you? I guess bifurcation would be the word to use.
Yeah.
It's a fancy pedantic word. Yeah, you just happen to be right place, right time, and don't act like a simp.
Yeah,
because like even all this pickup stuff, I loved it. It was a great hobby. I enjoy it. I still talk to guys, and if they ask about it, I show them like the stuff about it. It's all just training wheels. It gets you out of your own head. You break down something into like a systematic thing. So you like, how do I talk to a girl? Well, start with this, then do this, then do this, and escalate. And then like, well, she won't sleep with me. Well, you should have been escalating here. It breaks it all down, and then you go through it all. But I don't think you need half of it, because I've done more with less. It's just that gets you thinking about something else other than the stupid shit that you think of already that ruins you with women. Like, oh, she's like the Virgin Madonna. Or, oh, I want to make her my wife. I want to have a family. Meanwhile, she's there at dinner. It's like, I hate this guy.
Well, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about like taking risks, right? I mean, like failure is a better teacher than success. Like
it's not even that bad of consequence either.
Yeah, well, like I remember when I was in college, and I got kicked out of my dorm room floor because like I was the guy who was rowdy and got drunk all the time and stuff. And my RA was just like, listen here, Hawk, you're not allowed to come back. And it was St. Patrick's Day. You're not allowed to come back. I was like, okay, fine. All right. I'll go crash somewhere. I ended up crashing at like a female's like dorm room who like were like acquaintances, kind of like we hung out a couple times, but like I didn't really like see her as like a sexual prospect. Ended up sleeping in the bed with her that night. Both of us butt ass naked. Didn't even fucking fuck. And because like I was thinking like, oh, the girl's got to make the first move because you can't be the guy,
Oh, that's a one behind club.
Yeah,
story,
exactly. And so it's like, God, fucking stupid, but you learn now though, like that's never going to happen again. So when I was in a similar situation a couple of years later, that did not happen, and you went down a different route. So
I don't know.
It's one of those weird, yeah, it's one of those weird aligning your moral system to be more in tune with reality. Because I don't know about your example, but every time I've had that where a girl was basically throwing it at me and I was like, no, 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 they get mad because now they feel stupid. I was offering and you said no. Something wrong with me? No, it's got to be your fault. And then you wonder, it's like, everything was going so well. Why does she hate me now?
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out why. Did that roommate, did she like, didn't think anything of it, or did she get a little bit testy with you after that?
It was weird because like she ended up getting pregnant a couple like maybe 4 months after that and ended up leaving school and stuff like that. And then funny enough, she ended up coming back. I worked at a Dick's Sporting Goods when I was in college, and she ended up working at that Dick's.
That's a real place?
Yeah.
I thought that was like Walla Walla, the thing they use in cartoons.
No,
sounds funny.
Walla Walla, Washington. Yeah, no, like it's a real.
That's
thing.
a real place too.
Well, yeah. But yeah,
America's
so that was
great, man.
Yeah, so that was weird. I'm just working in my job for $8.50 an hour, and she walks in. She's like, "Hawk." I'm like, "What the fuck? What are you doing here?"
What are you doing here? And who's this little guy? Are you dating a midget? No, that's my kid. Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. I saw this. I don't know if you saw this when it was just like 2 days ago when Paul was posting like the link for Rule Zero this weekend. Like some guy responded in the taglines because he was I forget what the topic was. But
Oh,
like,
I think I saw that one. I had him blocked, and I was like, whenever I see one of our guys responding to somebody I've blocked, I'm like, I bet you there's the stupidest thing there.
Yeah,
he was the one that wanted you to. He was like, because the topic is the 20 best cities for hitting on women or whatever. And he wanted, could you guys narrow that down?
False accusations. Like, what the fuck?
I still like Paul's thing. That's an odd thing to ask.
Yeah. Correct. Very good response, Paul.
Yeah, what a queer statement that is, sir.
Yeah, really.
But that's that fear-mongering hype. That same thing when I realize everything is statistics and fake and gay. And I know why. It's because MRAs are full of chicks now, men's rights activists. And what do chicks love? They like catastrophizing everything. And of course, the false accusations. It's more, it turns out like there's so many grapes, but they overestimate that by 3 times. But the false accusations are 3 times as much. And you're realizing they're arguing. It's like a Troon argument. Like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. It's so small, it's a rounding area in your statistics. And everybody has banked their career on it. Like nobody gets graped nowadays. It's so rare.
I think the I don't know.
That's why when you get one victim, they get like on 8 talk shows. Because it's like there's not enough supply.
I think it's one of these things where again, like back to like taking personal risks and stuff and actually getting down into the trenches. It's like I think every guy has it in his brain, much like due to like the longhouse conditioning as well and such. Kind of like the same thing I was just describing before when I was sleeping with this chick, but literally actually not fucking, literally just sleeping. It's like everyone has it in their brain, like, oh, if you make the first move, then you're in trouble and such. And then like when you actually find yourself in enough situations, you're like, oh, so literally everything that I've been told is complete fucking bullshit. And my personal experience does not lap onto like what everybody else is telling me. All right, then I'm just going to completely ignore you now. And until like I get some information in my own life to suggest otherwise, this is just what I'm going to do. It's kind of like the same thing, my never ending war with like trads as it relates to like red pill dynamics, like with women, or just like how it's made my dating life so much better. I mean, like, listen, I was like a cradle Catholic and stuff, and it fucked up a lot of my relationships with girls. And it's like, okay, so what is there to argue? You know, it's like that my relationship and my dating success has only increased and has only gone better for me since I started adapting these like tactics and this way of looking at things in the world. It's like, you're not going to argue me out of this. Like, fuck off. I've tried your method. It's gay. It doesn't work. And what I found for myself is giving me the best results. So until you come up with something better, fuck you.
Yeah. And they never will. And that's the problem, because the guy who's like doesn't get any and he's afraid of taking risks, he latches on to it because now it's an excuse. Oh, it's not that I'm afraid to approach. It's that those false allegations.
Well, then you get the other
feminism. It's feminism's fault.
I think
that's why.
Another tangential topic to this as well is I never ever will stop like fighting with people who do the same things, like where you get like 20-year-old guys like from the Christian trad Catholic side of things telling other grown men how to behave in relationships. It's like, dude, you don't even have any hair on your balls yet, and you're fucking talking. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
15 lessons from my 15 years on Earth.
Yeah.
Number 3 will surprise you.
Yeah, exactly. I know what a real man is like. I know what women want. It's like, dude, like, stop.
Just say shit and people will listen to you. And he's yelling at you, but it's the same as like those kids that dad doesn't pay attention. I bet you if I misbehave and break some shit, dad will pay attention, and he does. And they're like, oh, sweet. Guess I'm that guy that breaks things now.
Yeah.
It all seems weird how it's like all comes back to like male role model, not real role models, but like male influence and how guys act.
Yeah.
No guys pay attention to this kid in his formative years, and so he turns into an attention whore. Which turns out is just the way that women act when daddy doesn't love them and hug them enough.
Yeah, really.
You can't fix that. Like, how do you fix that? We need more dads in the house. All right, well then let's make it harder to have divorce. Oh no, we can't do that. All right, so what's your plan? Let's just yell at them until they do it. All right.
Yeah.
It just has a communist vibe to it, you know? We need to open up these markets. Okay. Next thing you know, farmers are eating their kids. You're like, oh, this doesn't work well. But then, so what? I mean, how do you? I don't know how you stay positive at all on this. I'm just like, nobody wants it. I had an article I want to rewrite. It's called "Ask Your Doctor If Thoughtrazone Is Right for You," and everybody's talking about how bad mass shootings are with the incels and how bad the fatherhood crisis is. But when it comes to taking any action to reverse that trend, nobody wants to. So clearly, everybody wants this, and this is just a consequence to the life we want now. And that's one thing that's helped me is just treating this stuff all as like, oh, okay, it's the consequence. And even the immigration, dude, it's nobody. Everybody didn't save money. They spend like sailors, and their home is their only like retirement investment. So people have decided that I want to retire, and so we need 2 million immigrants from India in here, so I can retire off this house sale.
Yeah,
and that's the decision we made.
I mean, I guess like kind of like we were talking to earlier about like the concept of like elite theory and such. The thing that keeps me going is that it's a white pill in the sense that you don't need to change a billion people's minds. You just need to change 20 people's opinions who have power. And I mean, that I
joined that one group chat with Trump once, and you haven't shut up.
Listen. Again, like I don't want to be like this gay guy that goes on and says you guys don't know what happens behind the scenes, but it's like seriously, like I am fucking amazed how a guy who just mouths his mind off on the internet and started a company with another 20 guys. It's amazing the fucking people that I talk to. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? How many lifetimes would I have to live again for this like series of events to occur? And it's like, how can you not be hopeful at that point? I guess, you know, is like,
I guess self-hopeful. I mean, as like on a whole, I think people, things have to get a lot worse before they get better, but yeah, individually, you can absolutely thrive.
Yeah.
But you got to admit, the only thing you did was show up.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that saying? I don't know if it's a political one or what, but like 90% of victory is showing up. I can't remember who said that. It's probably a communist line too. It's just my luck.
Well,
every time I think of something clever, it's Marx.
Well, listen, they've got more wins under their belt than you know, that fucking establishment conservatives. So, you know, if it works, which I think is another thing that like a lot of like the younger, more radical, like right-leaning people that I know like are constantly getting in fights with more like boomer types about this, because it's like I don't really care so much about the system. I just care about results. You know, it's like there's this class of boomer con Republican that you run into in the United States that is just really obsessed about like democracy and values and such. It's like, dude, I just want things to work. And it's like, you're sounding like a Democrat. Like, I don't fucking care what you call me. I just want results. I want things to work. Like, this isn't like an identity for me. This isn't like a game. I just want results. I want things to work. Call me like a commie all you want, but I don't think that like we should be giving tax breaks to giant corporations that are fucking over America. Well, that sounds communist and Democrat. I don't fucking care. Fuck off.
That's why you guys need to be, there's like the greatest like ultra conservatives I think are Canadian. There's this one YouTube channel, Wilhelm Apologist. You probably know who he is, but he's like I want the monarchy back. And I was like, now that's a conservative.
Amazing. Yeah.
Like literally back to the day when there was like the Whigs and the whatever in the French Parliament sitting on the right side, and they're like, bring the king back. I'm like, that's a conservative, man. Not this shit we got now where it's like taxes and duck hunting sanctuaries.
Yeah. Well,
No offense. I'm sure they're wonderful sanctuaries.
Yeah,
I don't mean to insult you.
No, I mean, hey, I'm a big fan of conservation and all that such. So, I mean, I do have to laugh though, like on your topic of like that's actually conservative and such. I mean, I'll give her credit every time because she's like the only woman on Twitter who's worth a damn is Kenzie, and she got in a fight with one of these like conservative thought mommies recently, who like has it in her bio, I'm a capitalist and anti-communist, and this girl is doing nothing but calling Kenzie racist like the entire time. It's like, oh fantastic. So you're great. So you're doing the job of the left, like for them. Thank you. What a great conservative. I'd love to hear your definition of communist, Miss Egalitarian. Fuck off.
Yeah, she blocked me too. It took me a while to realize that she's just Ukrainian. You look at her physiology and you're like, oh, I get it. And everybody always talks about, remember that Poland and Ukraine, that's where all the greatest women are. And then after the Ukraine war, women are talking about, oh, all these soldiers coming back from war are giving me the ick. This is your traditional conservative woman saving the West. This mercenary, opportunist, cold-blooded bitch.
Well, it's actually kind of. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about this one, right? So
Ukrainian women? Oh, my buddy's divorced was a Ukrainian chick. She was crazy. I love pierogies though. I had them last night.
So do you think so one of the established, I guess you call it memes in this thing is like women are more or less all the same, right? But what do you think about like whether it's different religions, different cultures, or whatever, establishing different codes of conduct for women? Think about like the Islamic world, right? About you're literally dressed head to tail in like, burqas or whatever the fuck they call it over there, trash cans, whatever they have. Why does the culture need to develop that level of control over women when we didn't have to have that level of control over in the West?
Because we like lying to ourselves. We think it's effective. Dude, didn't I tell you about my trip to Oman when I was deployed?
Tell me.
Went down there. Oh, it was the first time I'd ever seen it. The whole garbage, like everything. The big black burqa. It was like 40 degrees out Celsius, which I think is like 120 American, and they're dressed like that. And I'm like, holy shit. And then they had these henna tattoos over the eye slit part. And I was like, dude, maybe it was because I had been at sea for like 3 months and hadn't seen a girl in that long, but I was like, that's the hottest thing I'd ever seen. Like the outline of a shoulder and eye tattoo makeup. It's like, fuck me, man. I got to get me one of those. And I'm like, I don't want to end up on a video getting decapitated, so maybe not. But my cab driver there, he was telling me all kinds of stories about how it was. And Oman is kind of like a very backwater, conservative Muslim country at the time. Like they had just opened their door to foreigners, and that's why we were there. And he had 2 cell phones. One was for his wife, and one was for his mistress. And we're like, whatever, bro. And then he shows us, he flips it open. It was flip phones back then. And it was like a video of him fucking the girl. And I was like, what the hell? In this Muslim place? And he's like, oh yeah, so here's how it works. Like, and he, as we parked the car to go somewhere, he'd always crack the window a bit. Because why do you do that? It's because if girls see you and they're interested in you, they run your plates to find out who you are. And they'll like drop a note into the seat to let you know how to get a hold of them. Or because you have the separate male and female shopping areas, the girl will like you kind of at the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, you leave your number, he goes and picks it up. It's like a funny little game. And so I found it hilarious that they have all this super regressive sounding thing. And all it did was just change the nature of game, but it didn't change game. And back to the history thing, same thing. Victorian era, like France and England, is supposed to be the most Puritan time on earth, right? For the West. They had jerk-off bars serving absinthe. You would literally go to the bar, drink that wormwood ale or whatever they call it, and they'd be jerking each other off in the booths.
I could be wrong too, but they had a huge like STD spike rate in that period as well.
And it's the most, and everybody loves the whole Jane Austen. Oh, does he like me? Does he not like me? Meanwhile, everybody's screwing around in the back, and like sex toys where the Industrial Revolution had kind of put things in a hyperdrive. That whole, well, girls got hysteria, better diddle her with the vibrator and give her some cocaine. Like that was medical treatment back then. I don't think it's ever
probably has a better success rate than SSRIs.
Yeah, I don't agree with the premise at all where it's like where we needed to do. I don't think we need to. I think people like to lie to themselves. And I think that sexual repression lie is a great one.
Oh, yeah.
And granted, obviously having like pride parades where dudes are flapping their dicks on the street, I find it distasteful.
Yeah.
For me. But I also find it distasteful when drunk guys at the bar are pissing on the street in the alley.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
for me, it's not so much about like the sexual repression or thing there. It's mostly about just like private life, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these things that I will. Okay, so the meme in like the trad circles, right, is that the sexual revolution, like uncoupled the role that sex has with reproduction. And I'm just thinking, dude, that's fucking ridiculous. Are you familiar with there's this plant. It used to grow on the shores of North Africa called psyllium. It grew
Isn't
in the
that the one
Roman
that's
eras.
extinct now because the Romans used
the
it too
Romans
much?
the Romans harvested it to extinction, and it was a birth control plant that they used. And you also look back in history about how like sheepskin condoms have literally been around since like 3000 BC, and like Egyptian pharaohs were buried with them and stuff like this. And it's like, or you look at Shakespeare's play Measure for Measure, where the TLDR is that a authoritarian like Catholic guy takes over the city of Venice and outlaws all sex and all prostitutes before marriage, and he's like under punishment of death. And the city just doesn't function because he's basically gonna have to kill almost everyone. So this idea that everyone was just keeping it in their pants for forever until 1965 when feminism came around, it's just historically inaccurate.
We were training people to be stealthy.
Yeah, but like
probably why the Cold War was so good with all those spies and shit. Pre-sexual revolutions, because they had to be. Once you trained all your life to be that high school guy at the malt shop, you learn how to screw Betty and Veronica. Of course, you're going to be great at fighting communists.
McCarthy was right all along. Yeah.
Now, granted, I get like the pill. It's kind of the same as the internet. It makes it a level of access and ease that amplifies it for sure.
I think if you're going to like attack the pill, the thing you should be attacking it for is, well, it's that red evening thing, right? Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. that's like the point I would attack it. Or like, the Alex Jones.
What, you mean there's a
line
problem
where
with making an entire generation of women can think of themselves as pregnant every day, all day? That could have negative consequences?
Or like you literally have the Alex Jones point where like the water's turning the frogs gay. And it's like, well, I mean, that's crazy and out there, but it's literally based in fact. And the fucking estrogen, they can't get out of the water supply because so many women are pissing birth control into the water system and they can't get it out of the filters. It's like, yeah, that's a problem.
Meanwhile, no, it's the fluoride. Like, come on, dude. Fluoride's not making these dudes buy Funko Pops. That's all I'm saying. I finally learned what a Funko Pop is, by the way. I've been asking, and everybody.
Did you talk?
Like,
did you talk to Gov? Yeah.
Well, he was the one that mentioned it, but yeah, I put it out on Twitter. I'm like, all right, it's been too long. I need to know what's a Funko Pop, and then everybody always just laughs and does jokes and that, and I'm like, this is a sincere question. It's not rage. It's not engagement bait. I want to know. And then he finally showed me, and I'm like, oh, so just like bobbleheads, like kind of, but it doesn't really bobble. I'm like, all right, fair enough. And then they're on everything. They have
I see them at political events now. It's like, get your Funko Pop, politician's head. It's like, what the fuck?
I think I accidentally had one too. I've got a one from Google, one of those rare edition ones. Yeah, because long story short, a bunch of people I knew from work and that we get invited to events, go see Google, that kind of thing, and then it's one of those limited edition ones. Like you can look them up. So it's pretty cool. It's on the shelf somewhere. It's not, you can't see it now. During some of the podcasts, go bug through there if you guys are autistic. And you're like, wait a minute, I recognize that one. It'll be a piece of lore for you. So I think that counts as a Funko Pop. It's not Funko branded, it's Google branded, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't watch Red Evening. He doesn't know the intro meme. I watch it more than anything else that's Manosphere, Jack. I don't watch anything else unless I'm in it. But except for Red Evening, I've actually watched a bunch. I don't comment ever because as soon as I do, Rob just gets sidetracked and starts talking about my fucking tweets. Yeah. And I'm like, I was there. It wasn't that funny then, but you make it work with your Bud Light attitude. So I just stay quiet and so I can enjoy the vibe for what it is.
Hey, I've said it before. Red Evening is like the last true Manosphere podcast left. It's just two dudes talking.
Getting loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Carl and I used to day drink on this one. I remember that, the old days. Be half cut. It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Yeah. And then do another 2 hours with Rule Zero after that. And I'm like, oh, I got to piss again. God damn it. All right. Anyways, what are we on for time? Oh, we're at the 2 hour mark. So are you going to Rule Zero today or no?
Yeah, I'll probably go and swing by for a bit. Yeah.
All right. I won't have a chance. I'm going after this to the spa and that, but I'll be back in the fall, whatever. Anything, closing thoughts before I shut us down?
No, I mean, I just go out there and actually do stuff. Like is the only thing I could say. I mean, I think everyone gets trapped in like this analysis paralysis all the time in this space. Like, oh, I gotta figure out exactly how to say the right thing to that chick. And I think you figured this out, especially like as you date like younger and younger. It's like the Zoomer chicks and like the younger millennials and such. Like, they're easy, man. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. So if you fuck up, nobody's gonna care. No.
Works for me.
Yeah.
All right, an ad, and then we'll see you guys. It'll automatically redirect you.
Now, Mr. Smith. Do you love science fiction but hate how it's not masculine enough? Do you yearn for those simple, timeless stories? Stories that resonate with something deep in your soul?
What the f?
Stories, perfectly told. A movie that doesn't have to keep you your attention with giant explosions, sarcastic banter, gratuitous nudity for no reason other than it's awesome. A movie that will make you tear up so much that you have to pretend it's lame and laugh so that your friends don't think you are a sissy. Well, I have the movie for you. We bring you the greatest movie that aged like a fine Romulan ale. It's the movie where Moby Dick meets Charles Dickens, meets the duelists, meets a science fiction western, meets our own awareness of our mortality. In Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
'79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take 1.